Chapter 889. Fang Yong killed all the bailiffs and calmed down his complicated emotions. Only then did he remember the unconscious Bai Yiqiao. Thinking of Bai Yiqiao, Fang Yong's expression was rather complicated. Then he went to find a doctor. When Fang Yong returned home, Bai Yiqiao's face was incomparably pale. The blood under her body was about to dye the entire bed wet. No one had boiled some hot water for her to wash. Fang Yong's mother sat by the bed. Her eyesight was not good, and it was not good for her to do anything. She vaguely saw Fang Yong return and asked, "Did you find the doctor?" The doctor took the pulse of the unconscious Bai Yiqiao, shook his head and said, "The child can't be saved." Fang Yong's expression was calm. As expected, with so much blood, the child definitely couldn't be saved. The doctor prescribed some medicine and left. Before leaving, he said, "The loss of blood has hurt the body. It will be difficult to have children in the future." Fang Yong pursed his lips and didn't say anything. In the room were Fang Yong and his mother, as well as the unconscious Bai Yiqiao on the bed. "Fang Yong, what do you want to do?" Fang Yong's mother asked Fang Yong. "Bai Yiqiao." Fang Yong pursed his lips tightly and told Fang Yong's mother about him killing the bailiffs. When Fang Yong's mother heard this, she stood up in fright and forced herself to calm down. "Mother, I want to join the army and join the rebellion army." Fang Yong said, "Right now, the imperial court is tyrannical and extorting taxes. The world is in chaos, and people can't distinguish between black and white. Such an imperial court will fall sooner or later." "So you want to join the rebellion army?" Fang Yong's mother closed her eyes. "You can go. Pack your things and leave tonight." "But mother, if I leave, what will you do?" Fang Yong said. Fang Yong's mother said indifferently, "I'm an old woman. I've lived for so long and it's about time. If you're alive, the Fang family will have hope. Those people won't do anything to an old woman like me." Fang Yong's mother said. Fang Yong wasn't someone who could watch his mother die. If he didn't kill the bailiffs, he could still secretly join the rebellion army. But he killed the bailiffs, so the government definitely wouldn't let him go. His family might suffer inhuman treatment. "Mother, let's go together." Fang Yong said calmly, "We both have to live." Fang Yong's mother didn't have any objections. "What about Bai Yiqiao?" Fang Yong looked at Bai Yiqiao with a complicated expression. "I used to think that I was climbing up to her, but I didn't think that she didn't really want to live with me. The child in her stomach is also someone else's. She's hiding a lot of things from me. In her heart, I'm not her husband." Fang Yong flatly said, "She can't bear the suffering of wandering around with me. I'll divorce her and we'll have nothing to do with each other from now on." Fang Yong let out a long sigh and began to pack his things to leave the village. When Fang Yong was packing up his belongings, he found a box hidden in the cabinet. There were some banknotes in the box. Fang Yong just grinned and put the box back. When Bai Yiqiao woke up, she felt a pain in her stomach like a knife. Bai Yiqiao's face showed a relaxed and relieved expression. In this case, the child in her belly should be gone. Bai Yiqiao felt that her mouth was dry. She wanted to drink some water, but there was no one around her. She heard the sound of the door opening and someone came in. Bai Yiqiao immediately adjusted the expression on her face. Her eyes were red and tears seemed to be dripping from her eyelids. It was very distressing to look at her. Fang Yong walked in and saw Bai Yiqiao's pitiful appearance. "Fang Yong." Bai Yiqiao shouted at Fang Yong in a hoarse voice, "I'm so thirsty. Can you give me a glass of water?" Fang Yong pursed his lips and poured a cup of water from the teapot on the table. However, the water was already cold. Bai Yiqiao took a sip and her expression became even more gloomy. Bai Yiqiao had been a woman before. In her previous life, she had been a concubine. Naturally, she knew that she couldn't touch cold things. But now that Fang Yong had poured a cup of cold water for her, Bai Yiqiao felt that her lower body was sticky. When she opened her lower body, she saw that her skirt was wet with blood. She hadn't changed her clothes yet? Bai Yiqiao had a bad premonition in her heart. With Fang Yong's temperament, he would definitely ask about her well-being and comfort her with concern. However, he was indifferent and expressionless. He must have believed Li Guzi's words. Bai Yiqiao moved her body and the lochia flowed out. The hot and wet liquid soaked her thighs. Bai Yiqiao's face became even paler. She reached out and tugged at Fang Yong's sleeve. "Fang Yong, don't be angry. I really didn't betray you." Fang Yong gave the divorce letter to Bai Yiqiao. Bai Yiqiao's pupils trembled. She took the divorce letter and looked at it. She said excitedly, "Fang Yong, don't be like this. You believe me. You would rather believe Li Guzi, that scoundrel, than believe me. I am your wife. You must believe me." Seeing the divorce letter, Bai Yiqiao only felt that everything, reputation, husband and future glory and wealth, was far away from her. What was the point of her rebirth? Fang Yong is Bai Yiqiao's biggest goal since her rebirth. She works hard to maintain her relationship with Fang Yong as husband and wife. Not to mention that Fang Yong will have a meteoric rise in the future. Fang Yong is a responsible man who will love people. He is worthy of a woman's trust. Fang Yong said, "I killed the bailiff. In the future, I will be hunted down by the imperial court. You and I will be implicated. Let's separate like this. You can live a peaceful life." When Bai Yiqiao heard Fang Yong say that he killed the bailiff, she was stunned for a moment. She didn't care at all and said, "I'm not afraid of suffering. Fang Yong, don't leave me." Knowing that Fang Yong would have a meteoric rise and kill the bailiff, then Fang Yong would join the army. Bai Yiqiao said to Fang Yong, "There is some money in the box in the wardrobe. Take it." Seeing Bai Yiqiao like this, Fang Yong felt a little powerless and said, "I can't tolerate betrayal." Fang Yong could tolerate everything, but he couldn't tolerate Bai Yiqiao's betrayal and what Bai Yiqiao did in private. Li Guzi said that Bai Yiqiao spent money to hire people to destroy people's innocence. Fang Yong couldn't figure out why Bai Yiqiao wanted to deal with Chen Ermiai. He felt that she was hostile to Chen Ermiai, but where did this hostility come from? It was very inexplicable. Bai Yiqiao cried and said, "Fang Yong, I really didn't betray you. You have to believe me." Bai Yiqiao kept saying that she wanted Fang Yong to believe her. Fang Yong rubbed his eyebrows and said, "Have a good rest." "So you believe me?" "Fang Yong, thank you." Bai Yiqiao smiled through her tears. "What I want is to be happy with you for the rest of my life. How can I be involved with a person like Li Guzi?" Fang Yong didn't speak. In the middle of the night, Fang Yong left the divorce letter on the table and left with his mother in the dark. Chapter 890. The next morning, when Bai Yiqiao woke up, the courtyard was quiet. There was no movement at all. She turned over with difficulty and saw the divorce letter on the table. Bai Yiqiao had a bad premonition in her heart. She got up from the bed with difficulty. Her abdomen was in pain when she moved. Bai Yiqiao covered her stomach and got out of bed. She walked to the table and picked up the paper on the table. It was the divorce letter that Fang Yong gave her last night. Fang Yong put it away. She thought that Fang Yong had changed his mind, but now it appeared again. Bai Yiqiao opened the wardrobe. Fang Yong's clothes were gone. Bai Yiqiao hurriedly opened the door and shouted, "Fang Yong, Fang Yong." Bai Yiqiao searched room by room, but she couldn't find Fang Yong. Even Fang Yong's mother was gone. Bai Yiqiao sat on the ground in a daze. She covered her mouth and cried. "This is the house. This is the home of the traitor Fang Yong." The voice of someone talking came from outside the courtyard, followed by the sound of knocking on the door. The courtyard door was violently smashed open. More than a dozen yamen runners in uniform saw Bai Yiqiao squatting on the ground and asked, "Where did Fang Yong go?" Bai Yiqiao was holding the divorce letter in her hand. When she heard the words of the yamen runner, her expression was blank. Where did he go? Bai Yiqiao was angry, panicked, and unworthy. She had paid so much for Fang Yong. Fang Yong threw down the divorce letter and disappeared. The yamen runner said directly. More than a dozen yamen runners rummaged around the room. Finally, they found a few hundred taels of silver in Bai Yiqiao's box. More than a dozen yamen runners were like injected with chicken blood. They didn't expect that this trip would have such a harvest. Bai Yiqiao now only felt disheartened. She didn't think about anything and didn't care about anything. Even if the banknotes were taken away, her expression was wooden. She thought that she had done so much for Fang Yong, but Fang Yong was merciless. He was so cruel that he only left a divorce letter and disappeared. This Fang Yong scolded her and beat her, making her feel more pain. The Yamen runner took the banknotes. The leader said, "This is the remnant of the traitor. Arrest her." The two Yamen runners took Bai Yiqiao away without pity. Then the Yamen runner called all the villagers around the village over and arrogantly gave the order to the county government. The gist of it was that the bailiff had died in this place, and that Li Zheng and the villagers had allowed the rebel thief Fang Yong to kill the bailiff. This was a serious crime of disrespecting one's superiors, and must be punished as a warning to others. Every household between the ages of 14 and 50 would be conscripted, and both men and women would be sent to repair the dams. Many places were flooded, and the embankments were washed away. When Ning Shu heard the news, he was dumbfounded. Fang Yong had escaped. He had escaped with his mother. Back then, he had said that he was a hero and that he would shoulder everything. But in the end, he had escaped. Each family had to send out 2 people, and the Chen family only had 4 people. If they sent out 2 people, 2 of them would have to leave. If Old Man Chen and Chen Li were recruited, then only she and Madame Li would be left in the family. Who would have thought that the higher-ups would be so angry that the entire village would suffer? Usually, each family would only recruit 1 male, but now, both men and women were being recruited, and 2 at that. Moreover, the place where the flood occurred was still very far from here. No one knew what would happen along the way. Although it wasn't as dangerous as fighting a war, it was incomparably tough. They used their blood and tears to build buildings and transport roads. Bones were buried in the ground. The bailiffs said that they would come to recruit in 2 days, and then took Bai Yiqiao away. When they arrived at the county government, Bai Yiqiao was locked up in prison. The prison was dirty and messy, and the environment was very bad. In addition, Bai Yiqiao had just miscarried and her body was weak. Under such circumstances, she fell ill. It was Wen Yu who found a relationship to give Bai Yiqiao money to get her out. Wen Yu saw that Bai Yiqiao's chin was sharp and asked, "What's wrong with you?" Bai Yiqiao hugged Wen Yu and cried, "Fang Yong abandoned me." Wen Yu couldn't help but raise her eyebrows. She patted Bai Yiqiao's back and comforted her softly, "It's him who can't see your good side really." Wen Yu sent several maidservants to take care of Bai Yiqiao carefully, but Bai Yiqiao had been depressed and depressed. Bai Yiqiao lamented her fate. Why was it that after being reborn, she still couldn't change her fate? In the end, it happened. Bai Yiqiao was afraid that fate would play tricks on people. Could it be that she and Fang Yong were destined to have no fate? After being reborn, she still had to give up her position to Chen Ermiai? But it was too unfair. No woman would willingly hand over her husband to another woman. Wen Yu had been by Bai Yiqiao's side, silently caring for Bai Yiqiao, but Bai Yiqiao was immersed in her own sadness. She was unwilling to give up and didn't get a return. Bai Yiqiao couldn't see anyone else at all. After being told that they were going to be recruited, the Chen family fell into a dilemma and pain. Alas, what should we do? Father Chen seemed to have aged 10 years in an instant. Madame Li didn't say a word and silently wiped her tears. "Since it's a recruitment, I must go," Chen Li said. Ning Shu sighed in her heart. After doing so many tasks, this time she was actually going to be recruited. This was the first time in her life. "I'll go with my brother," Ning Shu said. She already had a plan in her heart. "The 2 children are not by my side," Madame Li suddenly cried. Father Chen's face trembled and his eyes were red. He bit his cheeks tightly and didn't speak. "Mother, sew 2 men's clothes for me. It's inconvenient to wear a skirt," Ning Shu said to Madame Li. Madame Li wiped her tears and took out a needle, thread, and cloth to make clothes for Ning Shu. She didn't even measure Ning Shu's body and began to make clothes. "It's too rushed. If I had known earlier, I would have made 2 pairs of shoes for you and your brother." Madame Li threaded the needle and kept wiping her tears. Father Chen bit his cheeks and said, "I'll go with second sister. Chen Li stays at home." Chen Li hasn't given birth to the Chen family yet. Ning Shu. In this world, adults can't protect themselves. How can fragile babies survive? They are really obsessed with carrying on the family line. You're already so old. If you can't walk to the dam, you'll die of exhaustion on the road. Why are you going? Madame Li cried and complained. Chen Li stood up. If I don't go, who will? Ning Shu began to pack up his things. He wrapped up the medicine he usually made and the dagger he exchanged to cut iron like mud. Since he couldn't avoid it, why not? Ning Shu looked at Qinli. Why not get Qinli into the rebel army and let the Qin family rise? Ning Shu secretly channeled Qi Jin into Qinli's body. The Qi Jin could slowly change Qinli's body. His eyes and ears would become sharper, and his body would become more agile. Ning Shu said to Qinli, "Brother, I have a secret martial arts manual. Do you want to learn it?" Qinli, second sister, stop fooling around. Qinli said, "It would be great if we could go to war." They couldn't go to war just because they wanted to. There were requirements to recruit strong men. In their situation, they could only do manual labor. Ning Shu told Qinli the incantation. "I saved a swordsman in town, and he told me about this secret manual." Chapter 891. Qinli didn't believe in any secret martial arts. Instead, Ning Shu said, "I will protect you." Ning Shu saw that Qinli didn't believe in her, so she mobilized the Qi Jin in her body and jumped over the wall. Her movements were light and agile. "Second sister." Qinli opened the door and looked at Ning Shu in shock. "How did you do it?" "Didn't I say that I will practice the secret martial arts given by the chivalrous expert, and you want to practice it?" Ning Shu patted the dust off her hands. Yes. Ning Shu told Qinli the secret martial arts and how to practice it. Then, she taught him step by step how to practice it. Madame Li stayed up late to make clothes for Ning Shu and Qinli. She cried as she sewed the clothes. Old man Chen also couldn't sleep at night. He smoked tobacco all night long. The house was filled with smoke and no one could see clearly. 2 days later, Ning Shu wore the clothes that Madame Li sewed for her. They fit very well and she tied the belt. Madame Li combed Ning Shu's hair and tied it into a man's hairstyle. Ning Shu removed the tea-leaf stud earring from her ear. Then she took out a package. Inside the package was the dry food that Madame Li had prepared for her and Qinli. It was a piece of snow-white wheat cake. The family of 4 arrived at the entrance of the village. At the entrance of the village, there were people from the county government registering for the recruitment. Every family was overwhelmed with grief. They didn't know when they would be able to return. They didn't know if they would be able to come back. Under the influence of this atmosphere, Madame Li also hugged Ning Shu and Qinli and cried. She sobbed. Ning Shu patted Madame Li's back and comforted her. "Mother, don't worry. Brother and I will definitely come back alive to see you. My son." Madame Li hugged Ning Shu and Qinli and didn't let go. Old man Chen pulled Madame Li away and bit his cheek. His voice was choked with sobs. Ning Shu said, "You must let your brother live." Ning Shu nodded, "I know." Ning Shu did not feel any resentment in his heart. In this era, girls were not as important as men. After half a day of counting, the officials sent a group of soldiers to escort these people to their destination. Ning Shu looked back at the village entrance that was getting further and further away. He didn't know what his fate would be. He would rather be a dog in peace than a man in troubled times. "Second sister, don't be afraid. With your brother here, you will be fine." Qinli saw Ning Shu lowering her head and thought that Ning Shu was afraid, so he quickly comforted her. Ning Shu smiled and changed the topic. "How's your cultivation going?" "My body feels limp and numb. I get hungry quickly," Qinli said. This was the cells absorbing energy. "What are you talking about? Hurry up and leave." One of the soldiers whipped him. The attitude of the soldiers was very bad. They whipped people at the slightest provocation. There was no lack of older people in the group. After being whipped, they couldn't get up. If they couldn't get up, the soldiers would whip them. Qinli wanted to stand up for them several times, but he was stopped by Ning Shu. Ning Shu and Qinli shook their heads. Now was not the time. They had just started their journey. Although everyone was angry with the soldiers, they could still bear it. The commoners were the most tolerant people. As long as they had enough food and clothes, their tolerance was amazing. They would not resist until they reached a dead end. As time passed, the soldiers became more and more daring. They beat and scolded people at the slightest provocation. They basically did not let people rest and rushed on without stopping. As long as they could not keep up with the group, they would be beaten until they were full of injuries. The weather was very hot now. Escorting the able-bodied men was a tough job. Basically, only those who were ostracized by their colleagues would do this kind of hard work. These soldiers were in a bad mood and vented their anger on these people. They would whip people at the slightest provocation. Even the honest Ning Shu had been whipped a few times. Seeing Ning Shu being whipped, Chen Li was about to explode and hurt people. However, he was stopped by Ning Shu. He was only whipped a few times. When the time came, he would teach these people a lesson. There were also some people who could not bear it and wanted to run away. They were all caught and dragged behind the horses. They were dragged to death. However, these soldiers were still laughing arrogantly, deterring the dishonest people in the troop. Chen Li was very strong. Ning Shu saw the muscles on his arms twitching a few times. He looked like he was about to kill someone. Ning Shu calculated the time when they reached the place where the dam was being repaired. She would not go and fix the dam. After walking for an unknown period of time, Ning Shu's shoes were worn out. Not only were the people in the group restless, the soldiers were also abnormally irritated. Every day, they were in charge of the food and drink of so many people. If these people wanted to go to the toilet, they had to follow them. These soldiers gradually focused their attention on the women in the group. They wanted to vent their anger on these women. When it was dark, the soldiers would set up camp, and they could only feed the mosquitoes outside. Ning Shu had medicine on her, so the mosquitoes did not pounce on her. "Brother, save me." A woman's shrill voice sounded. Ning Shu turned her head and saw two soldiers dragging a woman. Her younger brother looked young. His face was full of horror and fear, and he called out for his sister. Chen Li suddenly stood up. Ning Shu did not stop Chen Li this time. Counting the days, they had been out for half a month. They were very far from home. Moreover, they saw a lot of refugees on the way. It was obvious that they were not far from their destination. So many refugees did not give them work and food. They insisted on dragging men from thousands of miles away to fix the dam. Were these people crazy? Or was there some benefit in doing this? Ning Shu pulled Chen Li. Chen Li immediately said, "Sister, we can't tolerate it anymore. Now they are defiling women. Next time, it might be your turn." Ning Shu smiled slightly. "Kill them all. Incite people to kill these soldiers." Chen Li was shocked. "Sister." He only wanted to teach the soldiers a lesson. He did not expect his sister to be more ruthless than him. Ning Shu handed the dagger to Chen Li and said, "Brother, if we don't resist, we will die. Once we reach the dam, we won't be able to survive. After killing these soldiers, we will meet up with the rebel army." Ning Shu said, "We have been out for some time. Our speed is not slow. We are probably a few hundred miles away from home." The information in ancient times was severely outdated. Even if something happened along the way, it would take a long time for it to be discovered. This side thought that they had reached the dam, while the people on the other side thought that they were still on the way. What they needed was time in between. Moreover, these people were worthless. If they were gone, they could recruit more. "Sister." Chen Li's tanned face was full of struggle. His face was trembling violently. Chen Li was sweating profusely. If he really did this, an unknown future lay in front of him. However, he was sure that he was walking on the edge of a cliff. "Don't you want to fight?" Ning Shu said. Chen Li's body was tense like a bowstring that had been pulled to its limit. He said in a low voice, "But this is rebellion." Ning Shu said, "The current imperial court is like a tree that has been eaten by termites. No matter what, it cannot escape the fate of destruction. Now that order is in chaos, there can be no construction without destruction. It is time to overthrow and re-establish order." Chapter 892. Chen Li was a true ancient person. He lived in a feudal society where the emperor was the sky, so he did not dare to rebel. Even if the soldiers went overboard, he only wanted to teach them a lesson. Chen Li felt guilty when he actually rebelled. Ning Shu had experienced many worlds, so he was more indifferent. It was normal for history to change, and the new to replace the old was the rule of the heavens, the cycle of reincarnation. Brother, you are just taking advantage of the situation. It has nothing to do with rebelling. Ning Shu said. Chen Li, don't try to scare me. While Chen Li was hesitating, the woman who was caught by the soldier resisted violently. The soldier was very impatient. He pulled out his sword and stabbed it into the woman's abdomen, then kicked her away. The woman clutched her abdomen and fell to the ground. Blood flowed through the gaps of her fingers. Sister, sister? The younger brother stumbled in front of the woman. Sister, don't leave me. I'm scared. Sister? The soldier laughed wildly. He did not care about the dead woman on the ground. He pulled another woman and threatened, "Serve me well, or you will end up like this person." The woman was in a daze. She panicked and asked the people around her for help. Save me. Ning Shu walked in front of the soldier. When the soldier saw Ning Shu, he immediately touched his chin and laughed. Why, you want to serve me in her place? Ning Shu smiled and kicked the soldier's crotch. He used a lot of force. The man who was kicked groaned. His eyes rolled and he fell to the ground, foaming at the mouth. The soldier's body twitched twice and he died. It was so painful. Chen Li. The people around were stunned. The other soldiers were furious. Impudent, are you trying to rebel? Chen Li raised the shiny dagger in his hand and shouted, Everyone, these ruthless officials are treating us like animals. They want to kill us and seize our lives. I'm afraid we will be killed by them before we reach the dam. Do you want to die like this? Women will be sullied by these animals. Impudent. The soldier pulled out his sword and wanted to kill Chen Li. Chen Li awkwardly dodged the attack and then used the dagger to slit the soldier's neck. Blood spurted out. Chen Li's face was somewhat pale. However, his hands were stained with blood and a different feeling welled up in his heart. Chen Li said loudly, They are also human, they can also be killed. Give me back my sister's life. The young man pounced on the soldier. The chaos in the crowd was no longer something these soldiers could control. Along the way, everyone had accumulated too many emotions in their hearts. Even well-trained soldiers would mutiny and blow up the barracks, let alone the commoners who followed blindly. When some people resisted, the others followed suit. Coupled with the resentment in their hearts, they dealt heavy blows to these soldiers. In the end, a group of unarmed civilians actually killed more than 20 soldiers. Ning Shu just watched from the side. When these soldiers died, Ning Shu said, Bury these people. We'll head north. The rebel army was heading in this direction. In the end, they crawled like a snail until they broke through the palace gates. When these people calmed down and realized what they had done, they were all scared out of their wits. Chen Li said, Let's meet up with the rebel army. We won't be able to go back. If we go back, we'll implicate our families. Everyone did not know what to do. When they saw someone standing up to make the decision, they were terrified and uneasy. They could only accept it. Everyone worked together to bury the soldiers. Ning Shu used soil to cover the bloodstains on the ground. It was dark now. Everyone sat on the ground with terrified expressions. Some people were crying softly. Chen Li wiped the blood off the dagger and returned it to Ning Shu. Where did you get this? I bought it. I ran to town when I had nothing to do and bought it for self-defense, Ning Shu said. Brother, keep it. Chen Li shook his head. I have the soldiers' sabers. Chen Li collected the sabers of the soldiers and distributed the dry rations of the soldiers and soldiers. After working for a while, Chen Li sat beside Ning Shu. He pursed his lips and said, Sister, must we meet up with the rebel army? Ning Shu raised her eyebrows. Can brother feed so many people? Chen Li instantly exclaimed with a helpless expression. Ning Shu meant to bring these people to meet up with the rebel army. The siblings also had some bargaining chips. Some things could not be resisted. The leader of the rebel army was the future emperor. Even Fang Yong, the male lead, did not become the emperor. Of course, Fang Yong's background could not be ruled out. With Chen Li's simple mind, of course, he did not understand the difficulties. Feeding a group of people was enough to make Chen Li cry bitterly. When they reached the rebel army, there would be people to worry about these things. The next day, Ning Shu and Chen Li led the team north. Along the way, They did not attack any county yamen because a team like theirs did not have much fighting power. Someone in the team fell sick. Ning Shu had no choice but to take out the medicine he had prepared beforehand. When they passed by the town, Ning Shu took the money that old man Chen had given him to buy medicinal herbs. Now that it was a chaotic world, food and medicinal herbs were in high demand. They were very expensive and might not be available. Ning Shu, who really had no money, ran to the door of a rich family to promote his jade face mask. Chen Li wanted to rob the rich to help the poor. Ning Shu shook his head. Once the authorities were alerted, they would all die. Their group was already very conspicuous. Chen Li, who had no choice, actually led the team's strong men to carry the sandbags. Ning Shu, fuck, why was her mission so difficult? Chen Ermei married Fang Yong and also fled for her life. Now she was still like this. Stumbling along the way, although it was difficult, at least there was no one to torture them. They could still get through it. Ning Shu finally saw the fluttering flag. Although the flag was old, it was rustling in the wind, carrying an indescribable power. We're here, Ning Shu said happily. Chen Li let out a heavy breath. This period of time could be said to be the most confused period of his life. From a person who only knew how to follow behind his father to farm, he had to worry about the entire team's livelihood and coordinate all kinds of sudden problems in the team. If the team was tired, he had to be responsible for the chicken blood and be careful of the instructor. If it wasn't for his sister by his side, Chen Li felt that he couldn't suppress these people. Now that they had arrived at the rebel army's territory, Chen Li immediately understood what his sister meant. After joining the rebel army, they would let others worry about these things. They would be responsible for fighting and sieging the city. Ning Shu and Chen Li sat on the backs of the two remaining horses. Ning Shu patted the dust off his body, turned his head and said, "Cheer up. Now that we're here, our fate might change drastically." Everyone began to tidy up their clothes, tidy their hair, and straighten their chests to accept their fate. However, there was an unconcealable fear and uneasiness between their brows. If they had a choice, no one would be willing to live such an uncertain life. Chapter 893. They were almost begging for food all the way here. The rebel army was temporarily staying in a deserted village. There were two flags at the entrance of the village, which were very dazzling under the scorching sun. This village was not far from the town. If possible, they could attack the city at any time. Chen Li said nervously, "Sister, will they accept us?" "They will. The more people there are, the more momentum they can build." Rebellion had to be done in a spurt of energy. A small fight would not be successful. "Who are you people?" Someone at the entrance of the village shouted at them. Chen Li cupped his hands and shouted, "We are refugees. Because we killed soldiers, we are here to seek refuge with the general." The leader of the rebel army was a descendant of a general. Because his family was killed by a traitor, it happened to be a natural disaster, so the people gathered to revolt. "Wait here." That person ran into the village. Ning Shu held the reins of his horse and stared at the entrance of the village. The group was quiet and the atmosphere was heavy. Occasionally, there was the sound of horses snorting. Chen Li's face was covered in sweat. His face was trembling and he was very nervous. Not long after, people came out of the village and there were quite a few of them. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and said to Chen Li, "Brother, get off the horse. Let's go take a look. You guys wait here. Second sister and I will go first," Chen Li said to the people behind him. Ning Shu and Chen Li walked towards the group of people. When the two met, Chen Li was so nervous that his hands and feet were shaking. When he turned his head and saw his sister's calm face, he could only take a deep breath to calm himself down. Chen Li didn't know why his sister was so calm and collected. She didn't seem to have any trouble doing anything, unlike him who was in a flurry. Ning Shu cupped his hands and Chen Li hurriedly did the same. "Greetings, General Liu," Ning Shu said. General Liu, the leader of the rebel army, asked curiously, "How do you know my surname is Liu? Who in the world doesn't know you?" Ning Shu flattered. General Liu could not help but laugh as he shook his head. These words, "I'm afraid they're all calling me a traitor." He had a valiant appearance. Because he came from a general's family, his body was well built. He wore coarse hemp clothes and straw sandals. He didn't look like the supreme commander of an army. Ning Shu shook his head. Who was she trying to impress by dressing like this? Sometimes, if she overdid it, it would backfire. Do you want to show that you share the suffering of the people? Of course, Ning Shu wouldn't say such a thing. General Lu, this is my brother Chen Li. This team is led by my brother and this little girl. Ning Shu introduced Chen Li to General Lu. Chen Li hurriedly cupped his hands. This humble one greets General Lu. Good, good. General Lu laughed heartily. From now on, we'll be a family here. We don't need guests. We'll work together to survive in this chaotic world. Ning Shu watched from the side. General Lu's expression was somewhat conflicted. His smile was mixed with worry. Clearly, he was worried about the problem of food and livelihood. Second sister, should I go call them over? Chen Li asked Ning Shu. Ning Shu nodded and agreed. General Lu raised his eyebrows and said ambiguously, "You're in charge of this team?" Ning Shu shook his head. "I'm basking in my brother's glory." General Lu only smiled and did not say anything. He turned his head and said to the person beside him, "Give them a place to live." "Yes, General." General Lu's guard said respectfully. Ning Shu and Chen Li led a group of people into the village. There were men and women, old and young in the village. These were the family members of the soldiers. When necessary, these family members were also a fighting force. In this chaotic world, being able to stay with family members was an extravagant hope. Being able to feed a family was even more difficult. With family members, they could be hostages, and they could make the soldiers unswervingly loyal. After all, he was born in a family of soldiers. He was quite good at guessing people's thoughts. The guard led Ning Shu to the place where he lived. Chen Li carefully wormed his way into being friends with the guard. Ning Shu tugged at the corner of Chen Li's clothes. Chen Li turned his head to look at Ning Shu. Ning Shu shook his head. Chen Li stopped talking. The guard glanced at Ning Shu and said, "This is where you will live." This row of houses was relatively old and there was trash everywhere. Ning Shu even smelled the smell of toilets. There was also filth around. Clearly, it was the feces of some children. Chen Li frowned. He wanted to ask the guard if there was a slightly better room. Chen Li was somewhat unhappy. They had come a long way to seek refuge. At the entrance of the village, they said that they were family. But now, they were given such a place to live. Chen Li was just about to open his mouth when Ning Shu stood in front of Chen Li and said, "Thank you, sir." "You can just call me Guard Zhou," said Guard Zhou. "All right. Please help me thank the general for giving us a place to live," said Ning Shu. Guard Zhou and Ning Shu exchanged a few polite words before leaving. Once Guard Zhou left, Chen Li asked, "Why can't we ask for a better place? We are new here. What qualifications do we have to ask for a better place? We don't have any merits. Moreover, the other party doesn't seem to trust us. They might even suspect that there are spies in our group," Ning Shu said indifferently. "We are all poor commoners." "There are no spies," Chen Li retorted. Ning Shu looked around and said indifferently, "But others don't believe us. Clean up the surroundings." Ning Shu and the others said, "This is where we will settle down in the future. Our future is unknown. Perhaps we will have glory and wealth. Perhaps we will be buried in the battlefield. If anyone wants to leave now, I will not stop them." The nearly 200 people in the group looked at each other and discussed in low voices. No one wanted to leave because they had killed soldiers and were criminals of the imperial court. If they went out without food, they would die. "All right. No one wants to leave. Clean up the rooms now," Ning Shu said. The crowd dispersed. Ning Shu picked up the hoe at the foot of the wall and dug a hole to bury the feces. There were flies everywhere. Ning Shu took out some medicinal powder and sprinkled some in every room. Chen Li led these people to work. Ning Shu said to Chen Li, "I will look around." "All right. Be careful. Bring the dagger with you," said Chen Li. Ning Shu nodded and went around to check the situation in the barracks. None of the people here wore armor. They were all dressed in coarse hemp clothes. Some of them were even naked, revealing their tanned arms. When they were not attacking the city, these people were lying in their homes or sitting under the shade of trees. They did not look like an army at all. However, it was understandable. After all, the military's physical training required a large amount of energy. In this place, food was scarce. They could not even fill their stomachs. Such a troop, carrying hoes and sickles, without horses or armor, was able to defeat the regular army of the imperial court. It was as if the gods were helping them. However, it also showed how rotten the imperial court was. Chapter 894. Ning Shu carefully observed the surroundings and felt that General Lu's courage was not light. Not only did he have to feed the soldiers, he also had to feed the soldiers' families. Ning Shu turned around and saw General Lu talking to someone. Ning Shu tilted his head and suddenly laughed. What a coincidence, an acquaintance, Fang Yong Simaida. Fang Yong was talking to General Lu when he felt someone looking at him. He glanced around and stopped. General Lu turned to look at Ning Shu and said with a smile, "This is someone who just joined the army today. Sister Chen." General Lu called out to Ning Shu. Ning Shu walked over and cupped his hands to General Lu. "General Lu." Then he said to Fang Yong, "What a coincidence." After not seeing him for a while, Fang Yong's murderous aura was strong. It was obvious that he had been on the battlefield and probably killed a lot of people. Fang Yong's expression was surprised. He looked at Ning Shu, who was dressed in men's clothing, and asked, "Why are you here?" Ning Shu smiled. "Well, after you left, the village was conscripted. Then we killed the soldiers on the way and then we appeared here." Fang Yong froze for a moment. "I still implicated you?" Ning Shu nodded. "That was true." "You are people from the same village?" General Lu was surprised. "This is fate." "Hee, I'm afraid it's an ill-fated relationship." Ning Shu said a few words and turned to leave. He stopped someone and asked about Fang Yong. Fang Yong was already a little famous here. His martial arts were good and his archery skills were perfect. He already had some people under him. Ning Shu replied with an "oh." Fang Yong was starting to rise. Ning Shu returned to the place where he lived and said to Chun Li, "How about we teach the peerless martial arts to other people? Maybe they will have a chance to survive on the battlefield." "Brother, these people might be our Chen family's underlings," Ning Shu whispered. Chen Li's heart trembled. He vaguely felt something but was not sure. He nodded and said, "I know. I will go teach them now." "Focus on training young and strong laborers," Ning Shu said. Ning Shu was just about to check how many herbs he had left when General Lu's bodyguard Zhou came to Ning Shu and told him that the general was looking for her. Ning Shu put the things away and followed guard Zhou to see General Lu. General Lu also lived in a simple house. At this moment, General Lu was reading a book. When he saw someone enter the house, he put down the book in his hand. In order to avoid arousing suspicion, General Lu did not let guard Zhou go out. Ning Shu cupped his hands in greeting and asked, "What does General want from me?" Ning Shu consciously treated himself as a subordinate. General Lu said, "There will be a siege in 5 days. You should join in as well." Ning Shu said solemnly, "This subordinate understands." He wanted to test their combat strength. "You don't have to be so serious." General Lu chuckled. Ning Shu's face was still stiff. The general is the leader of an army. There must be rules. Otherwise, how can the general lead an army? General Lu narrowed his eyes and suddenly said, "You just came here. Do you have any complaints about this place?" Ning Shu shook his head. "No. Don't be afraid. Just say what you want," General Lu said. Ning Shu, "Then you won't be angry if I say it, right?" Ning Shu said. "Just say what you want," General Lu said with a seemingly angry face. First, Ning Shu looked General Lu up and down. His gaze stopped at the straw sandals that exposed his feet. Being stared at by a woman like this, General Lu shrunk his feet a little uncomfortably. He coughed and interrupted Ning Shu's gaze. "General, do you only have this set of clothes? Don't you have a pair of shoes that can cover your feet?" Ning Shu asked. "I do. It's slightly better than this set of clothes." General Lu said a little embarrassedly. "But everyone is dressed like this. I can't wear anything special." Ning Shu was expressionless. He couldn't help but complain in his heart. At the end of the day, this person was still stuck in the style of a general. Loving his soldiers like his children was what a general should do. But he was now the leader of an army. There was no one above him to suppress him. He had to establish a supreme image, and not this image. General, everyone follows you. Other than filling their stomachs, they also have some ambition in their hearts. They want to be conferred titles, their wives and children, and protect their descendants. But you... Ning Shu's gaze landed on General Lu's feet again. What ambition do you have for the people below you? Do they want to climb up and enjoy privileges? Special people have privileges. Even if you eat meat and the people below you eat chaff, no one will dare to say anything, Ning Shu said. Generals and leaders wore special clothes. Other than being special, it was also to let their own people see them and command their own people, even though they were conspicuous on the battlefield and easy to be hit by the enemy. They did things according to their status. Barefoot and with dust on their feet, they really didn't have any sense of dignity. Even if they walked among the masses, they shouldn't ruin themselves like this. Moreover, the masses didn't care at all. As long as they could fill their stomachs, it was fine. Sometimes, the masses didn't care about the tenderness doctrine. The masses weren't greedy. They ate and drank their fill, but they were also people who cared about milk. If they couldn't fill their stomachs, they would turn around and leave. At this time, it was useless to play the sentimental card. First respect to the clothes, then respect to the people. It had been like this since ancient times. Just like in the army, Shi and Chenli could ride horses because their contributions to the army had established their positions as leaders. General Lu was stunned for a moment. Finally, he said, "I understand. You can leave." Ning Shu cupped his hands. "If there is anything wrong with what this subordinate has said, please forgive me, General." "It's fine." General Lu waved his hand and let Ning Shu leave. Ning Shu returned to his residence. He pulled Chenli aside and said, "General Lu is attacking the city in 5 days. We also want to participate." "So soon?" Chenli was stunned. Ning Shu nodded. He was a little anxious. They didn't have any weapons in their hands. Moreover, General Lu didn't intend to give them any weapons. They had to pay for it themselves. How poor was the army? But they... Chenli pointed at the people who were cultivating crookedly. Ning Shu also felt very anxious. Ning Shu walked over and injected a bit of qi jin into each person's body. Then he found a knife in the house. Chenli saw Ning Shu holding a kitchen knife and asked, "What are you going to do?" Ning Shu said, "I can't go to the battlefield unarmed. I have to get some weapons." As Ning Shu spoke, he stepped on the trunk beside the house and climbed up the tree. When he saw a suitable branch, he cut it down. Ning Shu was like a monkey. He ran from tree to tree and cut the branches. When he was almost done, Ning Shu asked the woman to make the branches the length of a spear. Then he sharpened one end. Unfortunately, there was no metal spear head. "Everyone come here." Ning Shu called his subordinates. "Now, each of you hold a wooden stick and practice stabbing and stabbing." Ning Shu only hoped to do his best to protect this team on the battlefield. Chapter 895. Ning Shu held the wooden stick and stabbed it into the scarecrow's neck. He said, "There's no need for any fancy moves. Just stab the neck and eyes. Stab wherever the vital parts are. Don't stab the chest. With the sternum protecting it, the wooden spear might get stuck." Ning Shu said loudly and then gave the wooden spear in his hand to Chenli. Chenli held the wooden spear and bit his cheeks. The muscles on his face trembled as he stabbed the scarecrow. Ning Shu watched these people train. He went into the house to get herbs. He would definitely be injured on the battlefield. After training for an entire afternoon, someone came to deliver food in the evening. It was a coarse bread mixed with yellow vegetable leaves. Then the bread was mixed with cold water. Ning Shu ate the bread. It was so hard that he almost broke his teeth. Moreover, when he swallowed it, it was very painful. Ning Shu hurriedly drank some water and swallowed the cornbread that was stuck in her throat. What kind of life is this? Why is it so difficult to turn the tide of life? After 2 days of such food, The people below were somewhat dissatisfied. They complained to Chun-Li, "Why are we eating the worst? I heard that some people eat steamed buns and steamed buns." Chun-Li didn't know what to say. He looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu said indifferently, "That's because they have military achievements. They have been on the battlefield and killed enemies. It's normal for them to eat well. It's good that we can eat. On the battlefield, if you can survive, you will eat the same things." Ning Shu said. Although the others were indignant, they couldn't say anything. Originally, the siege was supposed to take 5 days. Suddenly, on the 3rd day, the order was given to gather, saying that the siege was about to begin. Moreover, there was an extra bread in the morning. So it was to let people eat their fill. "Isn't it 5 days?" Chun-Li frowned and asked. Ning Shu pursed his lips. He felt that General Lu didn't trust them. He changed the time just because he said so. Chun-Li brought out 2 horses and gave one to Ning Shu. Then he flipped onto the horse's back. His waist was equipped with the saber worn by the soldiers, and he held a sharpened wooden stick in one hand. Chun-Li straightened his back. His body carried an expression of facing death calmly. Ning Shu could see that Chun-Li was very nervous. The veins on the back of his hand that was holding the wooden stick were bulging. Before setting off, Ning Shu asked the team to tidy up their appearance, tighten their belts, and comb their hair before heading to the entrance of the village. This time, Ning Shu discussed with Chun-Li and decided to only bring 100 people. The younger ones, the older ones, and some women were left behind. Ning Shu called out and headed towards the village entrance. There were many people gathered at the entrance of the village. When Ning Shu saw the entrance, he almost choked on his saliva. Were they going to attack the city? Those who had hoes, and those who had rakes. All of them were farmers. Even the nervous Chun-Li was speechless when he saw this scene. He wasn't as nervous as before. He had always thought that his team was the worst, but now that he saw it, it was still okay. Although they were holding hoes and weren't wearing armor, their formation was still quite good. Ning Shu urged his horse over and saluted General Lu with cupped fists. Today's General Lu made people's eyes light up. He was wearing a silver armor, and the red tassels on his helmet were like fire under the sun. The beard on his face was shaved clean. His face that used to be gray was now clean. He was born in a family of generals, and his facial features were handsome. He stood on the high platform, surrounded by fluttering flags, which made him look dignified and noble. Chun-Li's eyes were filled with respect and awe. Seeing General Lu like this, many people held their breaths. It was easier to create a noble image than to be close to the people. Moreover, it wasn't so tiring. All he had to do was act cool. People liked this even more. Ning Shu turned his head and saw that the leaders of the army were all riding horses. Fang Yong was also riding a horse, and there was a group of soldiers behind him. Fang Yong turned his head and glanced at Ning Shu and Chun-Li. Looking at the group behind Ning Shu, there were many familiar faces. They were even people from the same village. Fang Yong didn't expect this brother and sister to pull the people from the village over. They had soldiers in their hands as soon as they arrived, unlike him, who had to climb up step by step. Fang Yong held the reins in one hand and a large bow in the other. He suddenly said, "Women can also go to the battlefield?" Chun-Li frowned. He didn't expect that the first person to question was an acquaintance from the village. He said, "Why can't women go to the battlefield? My sister's courage and strength don't lose to men." "Chun-Li, I'm just saying that swords and blades have no eyes on the battlefield. It's not safe for a woman to go. She should stay and manage the camp." Fang Yong said, "I don't want a woman in the army to be used by the enemy to attack and mock us." When Fang Yong said this, many people frowned. Since ancient times, power and the battlefield had always been a battle between men. There had never been a place for women. Fang Yong was just saying what most people were thinking. Chun-Li felt like he needed his sister by his side to help him. His sister was smarter than him, and this was her first time going to the battlefield. Chun-Li's heart felt weak. Chun-Li wanted to say something, but Ning Shu said, "Carrying a spear and riding a horse to protect the country is a man's ambition and responsibility. But in this chaotic world, you and I are both people who have left the chaos." "What's the difference? Who knows, you might not even see the sun tomorrow. You still have time to think about this. Ning Shu almost rolled his eyes. Fang Yong squinted his eyes and didn't say anything. On the platform, General Lu said, "Let's go." The group slowly walked toward the city gate not far away. Ning Shu and the others walked at the very back. They jogged to the city gate, which was shut tight. There were soldiers on the gate, ready for battle, and the sound of drums could be heard. This was the biggest city gate in Dazhou. If they broke through this gate, the entire group would have a place to rest. They would be able to replenish their food supplies. Everything would improve. Ning Shu furrowed his brows. Attacking a city was much harder than defending it. They were so poor that they didn't even have a ladder to attack the city. Ning Shu still didn't know how a group like that had succeeded. Did they use human lives to fill the gap? Ning Shu squinted his eyes. He saw bows and arrows on the city wall, as well as a trebuchet. General Lu stood on an old war chariot. Guard Zhou stood beside him to protect him. General Zhou held a flag in his hand and waved it. Four groups of people carried a giant wooden battering ram toward the city gate. Ning Shu's eyelids jumped. They were really using human lives to fill the gap. But before they reached the city gate, they were hit by a rain of arrows. One person fell, and another took his place. The others protected the battering ram until they reached the city gate safely. In an instant, screams were heard everywhere. General Lu ordered Ning Shu and Qin Li to replace the person who had fallen to carry the wooden battering ram. Carrying the battering ram was like a live target. There was no way they could survive. General Lu had them carry the battering ram for the first time. Chapter 896. Sister. Qin Li frowned. If this is really the case, their team might not be able to return today. Ning Shu bit her lips. If they don't do something, they won't be able to stand. All of the great achievements were built with piles of bones. Fang Yong pulled the bowstring. His aim was very accurate. He killed the archers on the city wall in an instant. The bowstring in his hand was probably very heavy. Ning Shu used her saber to cut the arrows that were shot at her. Many people in the team were injured. Thanks to the peerless martial arts, only a few of them were injured and died on the spot. With a clang, the wooden battering ram fell to the ground. Ning Shu waved her hand and more than 10 people followed behind Ning Shu. Ning Shu grabbed the rope of the wooden battering ram and tied her body to her shoulder. She used her internal strength to carry the wooden battering ram towards the city gate. People who have practiced peerless martial arts are stronger than ordinary people. Ning Shu's team walked in front, but they were under a lot of pressure. The enemy concentrated their firepower on them. Ning Shu watched her men fall. Her heart was bleeding. Suddenly, she felt her hair stand on end. She turned her head and saw an arrow flying towards her face. Ning Shu held her saber in her hand. She was about to use her saber to cut the arrow when another arrow suddenly flew over and shot it away. Ning Shu did not hesitate. She used all her strength to rush towards the city gate. She heard the whistling sound of arrows flying past her ears. She heard the sound of arrows piercing into flesh. Ning Shu bit her lips until they bled. She used all of her internal strength. She groaned from her throat and carried the wooden battering ram forward. The distance between them was like a natural chasm. Qin Li, in order to protect her, was injured. "General, it seems that today's siege will be a little difficult," Zhou Wei said to General Lu. General Lu frowned. "If we continue in one spurt of energy, I'm afraid that the next time we come, we will be afraid. Now that we are in a killing frenzy, we don't know what fear is. Let's wait a little longer." Ning Shu struggled to lift the wooden plank and pay attention to the arrows. With great difficulty, they finally reached the city gate. Ning Shu exerted all his strength and rammed the gate with the others. The city gate was very sturdy. Ning Shu ignored the wounds on his body and rammed the wooden battering ram against the city gate with everyone else. The rebounding force of the wooden battering ram caused Ning Shu's internal organs to hurt. Fortunately, the city gate was finally opened. The moment the city gate was opened, the morale of the rebel army was immediately boosted. They cheered and rushed towards the city gate. As soon as the city gate was pushed open, many armored soldiers rushed out and killed the soldiers who didn't even have the time to be happy. Ning Shu held a knife in his hand. He wasn't afraid of killing people, but he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to kill them. Ning Shu held a wooden stick and stabbed it towards the opponent's eyes and throat. The person who was stabbed instantly stopped breathing. Seeing that the leader was calm, the others also held up wooden sticks to defend themselves. Although they were clumsy, they could still kill 1 or 2 people. When the city gate was opened, a large group of people with hoes and rakes surged over like a flood. Without any deliberate training, they used hoes and rakes to fight randomly, killing the old master with random punches. The troops surged into the city. How could they fight without any order? This chaos was probably only temporary. When there were enough resources, it would definitely be more than this. General Lu brought Ning Shu, Qin Li, Fang Yong, and a few other commanders to the magistrate's office. General Lu held a silver spear in his hand and directly killed the soldiers. He slowly walked towards the fat official dressed in official clothes. The official was so frightened that he wet his pants and fell to the ground. He begged for mercy, "Don't kill me. I have a lot of money and food." General Lu said calmly, "Where is it?" The official's eyes darted around. General Lu raised his spear and the official immediately said, "In the pickled vegetable jar in the courtyard. It's buried underground." "Where's the food?" General Lu asked. "Food. I sold all the food to the grain merchants in the city," the official immediately said when he saw the spear pointed at him. The official thought that the other party would let him go, but in the next moment, General Lu pierced his body with his silver spear. "Drag him to the magistrate's office and bury him." General Lu pulled out his spear and wiped it clean. Next was to settle the casualties. Ning Shu first treated Qin Li's wounds. The arrowhead was still in the flesh. Ning Shu used a dagger to pick out the arrowhead, then sprinkled medicinal powder on it and bandaged it. Qin Li was in so much pain that his tanned face turned pale. Because he used too much strength, Ning Shu's limbs and body were sore and weak. However, these soldiers were waiting for him to save their lives. Ning Shu grabbed handfuls of medicinal powder and pressed it on their wounds. "You know medicine?" General Lu asked in surprise when he saw Ning Shu treat people's wounds. Ning Shu wiped the sweat on his head. "A little." "You should have told me earlier that you know medicine, Ning Shu. You're not going to let me carry the battering ram?" After all, they were all people who wanted to do great things. Their hearts were as hard as steel. General Lu might look gentle, but he wouldn't even blink if he sent people to their deaths. "What medicine do you need?" "I just found a batch of medicine from the magistrate's office." "You can tell me what you need." General Lu left in a hurry. After settling down, Ning Shu was so tired that she couldn't even lift her hands. She said to Qin Li, "Brother, I'm going to rest for a while." Ning Shu leaned against the wall and closed her eyes to rest. When she woke up, Qin Li was by her side. She was wearing Qin Li's clothes. Ning Shu moved her body. Her entire body was sore. Ning Shu asked, "How many people died this time?" 30. "Sigh," Qin Li said. His face was pale because of the blood loss. "We can only train harder," Ning Shu said. War was a meat grinder. Needless to say, it was cruel. "General Lu's team is going to stay in Dazhou for a while," Qin Li said. He said he wants to develop Dazhou as the capital. This was taking control of the land. He took control of Dazhou and then gradually took over the land around it. This was good. Carrying hoes and rakes all the time wouldn't go far. They had to be disciplined. "General Lu said that when we settle down, he'll reward us," Qin Li said. "Speaking of which, we're pretty lucky. We're in a big battle the moment we arrive." Ning Shu understood. No wonder General Lu wanted them to do something as dangerous as carrying the battering ram to show their loyalty. "General Lu and the others have already gone to hunt down the deserters," Qin Li said. "I can't go because I'm injured." "If you don't want to go, then don't. It doesn't matter if the merit is small. There's still plenty of time." Ning Shu didn't mind. They had just arrived and weren't familiar with the land. It wasn't good to be in the limelight. Dazhou was just a small place. There would be more battles in the future. The next morning, The people who went to hunt down the deserters returned. Breakfast was a big steamed bun with meat. The whole army ate that. Since leaving home, this was the first time Ning Shu had eaten such good food. Eating it mixed with meat soup, the taste was extraordinarily good. Ning Shu only ate one steamed bun and gave the other to Chenli. She had eaten the fasting pill, so she wasn't hungry at all. She ate a little symbolically. To be able to live without eating was practically a monster. You eat. Chenli didn't take it. He said, "You've lost weight." More. I'm full. You eat. Chapter 897. Chenli was a bit anxious. Every time he saw his sister eat like a cat, he couldn't help but say, "Actually, you don't have to share yours with me." "Oh, I'm not hungry." Ning Shu stood up and prepared to walk around. This was Dazhou's military camp. There were all kinds of weapons and armor. Ning Shu saw Fang Yong wiping his bow. She thought for a moment and walked over. "Thank you for saving me." When the arrow had been shot toward her, only Fang Yong had been able to accurately deflect it. Fang Yong said, "No need. Since we are from the same army, we will not leave you in the lurch." The atmosphere between Fang Yong and Ning Shu was very awkward. In the past, the two families had disagreements. It was impossible to say that they didn't have a knot in their hearts. Ning Shu thanked Fang Yong again and turned to leave. She would repay him for saving her life next time. General Lu took the army to the rich families in Dazhou to ask for food. He said that he wanted these people to sponsor him and support his work. If they didn't give it to him, then he would wipe out their families. General Lu only targeted the rich families. After the city fell, he didn't massacre the people in the city. First, he spoke to the grain merchants in Dazhou. If the merchants wanted to monopolize the market or raise the price of food, General Lu would create a river of blood. Then he would slowly collect the food. He had soldiers and people in his hands. He solved everything with violence. If you didn't give him money or food, he would beat you until you gave it. At first, the people of Dazhou were scared. Later, the rebel army didn't touch the normal people, so they became braver. General Lu was going to collect money. Ning Shu urged Chenli to take the group with him. There were always some benefits to following behind. After conquering Dazhou, their days were much better. Although they didn't eat meat for every meal, they didn't eat the cornbread they used to eat. The coarse flour steamed buns paired with some meat-flavored broth were not bad. They were also given some weapons. These weapons were all from Dazhou's military camp. Ning Shu processed the medicine General Lu sent over. Clearly, General Lu wanted to treat her as a free doctor. Ning Shu made some medicine to stop bleeding and increase muscle growth. General Lu had shaved off all the wool that could be shaved off in Dazhou. Then he gathered a few leaders, including Ning Shu, and said, "I have decided to proclaim myself emperor." Chenli reflexively looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu didn't say anything. After all, he was going to be the emperor sooner or later. One country, two emperors, China. He was afraid that the imperial court would be in an uproar. This was a provocation. If it were just ordinary people rioting, the imperial court would at most send troops to suppress them. But now that he was the emperor, it would be strange if the imperial court could tolerate it. Perhaps the imperial court would have already launched a frenzied counterattack, which they might not be able to withstand. When Ning Shu saw that no one else was speaking, he naturally didn't say anything either. The bird that pokes its head out will be shot. Originally, the fact that he was sitting here as a woman had already caused a lot of criticism. When Chenli saw that Ning Shu had his head lowered and was lost in thought, he shut his mouth and didn't say anything. For a moment, the whole room was quiet. General Lu said, "If you have anything to say, you can say it." This subordinate agrees with the general calling himself the emperor. A man stood up and said. Then, two more people stood up. If General Lu were to call himself the emperor, they would be rewarded. No matter what, it would be an official position that would bring honor to their ancestors. Fang Yong didn't say anything. His face was calm, and no one knew what his opinion was. Chenli frowned, thinking about the advantages and disadvantages of calling himself the emperor. "Sister Chen, tell us." General Lu looked at Ning Shu. Everyone immediately looked at Ning Shu. Even Fang Yong couldn't help but look at Ning Shu. He was a little surprised that General Lu would ask her. Ning Shu, fuck, if I'm not careful, I'll offend people. If you have any ideas, you can say it. Let's see if you want to call yourself the emperor. General Lu said. Ning Shu stood up and cupped his hands in greeting. This subordinate is actually in favor of proclaiming ourselves emperor. Proclaiming ourselves emperor can greatly boost the morale of our army. Everyone is eager to be conferred an official title. However, there is a problem. Can we fight against the regular army of the imperial court? If we call ourselves the emperor, the imperial court will definitely send more troops to wipe us out. Ning Shu said, should we take it slow, or go against the imperial court now? General Lu frowned. Ning Shu gestured with his hand. Ning Shu cupped his hands and sat down. The others also looked conflicted. Calling themselves the emperor had its advantages and disadvantages. If they weren't careful, their rebel army would be annihilated like fireworks. It would only be a line or two in the history books. General, this subordinate feels that there's no rush to call ourselves the emperor. When the general leads us to conquer more land and win more people's hearts, we'll follow the will of the heavens and raise our arms to cheer. It'll be even more glorious than now. Fang Yong stood up and said. General Lu thought about it and nodded. Let's put this matter aside for now. We'll talk about it when the time is right. After leaving the room, Ning Shu let out a long sigh. Chen Li and Ning Shu said, Sister, you're amazing. I didn't know anything. Take it slow, Ning Shu said. We'll attack and occupy Ping Town in 2 days. Do you want to go? Chen Li and Ning Shu asked. After experiencing blood, Chen Li's subordinates were slowly becoming more valiant. On top of that, Chen Li had them practice ultimate martial arts. The soldiers now were very different from before. General Lu's strategy was to use Dazhou as the center to encroach on the surrounding areas and conquer some small towns and villages. General Lu wouldn't go at all. He would just send people. There were people fighting to do this kind of thing. There were military merits and rations to be gained. If they conquered the town, they could even gain some benefits. Chen Li accepted the mission to attack and occupy Ping Town. He asked Ning Shu if he wanted to go. Ning Shu nodded. I'm going. Of course I'm going. Chen Li let out a sigh of relief. He still needed his sister to guide him, even though he didn't know why they were so different even though they were both born of the same mother. The next morning, Ning Shu and Chen Li put on their armor and mounted their horses. Behind them was a team of nearly 200 people. One person carried a large flag and looked quite impressive. Chen Li shouted, "Let's go," and headed towards Ping Town. When the team arrived at the city gates, they encountered a group of people who were in a panic. They were carrying a person on a stretcher. "What's wrong?" Chen Li asked. Centurion Fang was shot by an arrow, a soldier said. Ning Shu was a little surprised. With Fang Yong's abilities, he could still be shot by an arrow. Ning Shu got off his horse and saw that Fang Yong was unconscious on the stretcher. An arrow had pierced through Fang Yong's chest and he was bleeding profusely. "Put it down. Let me take a look." Ning Shu took out medicine and a dagger from his bag. "Madam Chen, this arrow has a barb," the soldier said. They didn't dare to move. Ning Shu pursed his lips. The tip of the arrow had a barb. If he pulled it out forcefully, it might even damage the person's meridians. An ordinary person wouldn't be able to survive. If the arrow was left in the body would reject the foreign object and it would become inflamed and rot. Similarly, the person wouldn't be able to survive. Chapter 898. How did he end up like this? Chen Li asked. "We went to attack Li County, but we didn't expect them to have powerful archers," the soldier said. Li County was comparable to Dazhou City. It wasn't easy for Fang Yong's men to conquer Li County, and he ended up like this. Fang Yong was too eager for quick success. Ning Shu untied Fang Yong's clothes, took out some wine, and drenched the dagger. He put the powder aside and said to the others, "Hold him down." "Sister, can you do it?" Chen Li asked. "If something happens, Fang Yong's mother will blame us. We'll do whatever we can. If he really dies, we'll take over his men." Ning Shu washed his hands with wine. Fang Yong's men were speechless. Ning Shu was just saying, the main character wouldn't die. Ning Shu held the dagger and cut the wound into a cross. Thanks to the sharp dagger, the wound was cut neatly. Fang Yong woke up from the pain. He opened his eyes and saw Ning Shu. Ning Shu grinned and said, bear with it. Ning Shu traced the wound and found the place where the hook had pierced. He used the dagger to pry open the flesh. Fang Yong was in so much pain that his face turned pale. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. Hold it down. I'm going to pull it out. Ning Shu held the arrow tightly and pulled with all his might. The arrow left Fang Yong's body. Fang Yong was in so much pain that he arched his body and spat out a mouthful of blood. It sprayed onto Ning Shu's face. Ning Shu wiped her face and hurriedly sprinkled medicinal powder on the wound. She used a cloth to tightly press on Fang Yong's wound. Brother, you guys go first. I'll catch up with you later, Ning Shu said to Qin Li. Okay. Ning Shu pressed on Fang Yong's chest. Blood stained the cloth red. Ning Shu changed the cloth. When the bleeding was not so serious, Ning Shu began to thread the needle and suture Fang Yong's wound under the horrified gazes of the others. Fang Yong was quite strong-willed. He hadn't fainted yet. His tired eyes looked at Ning Shu as if he was sewing clothes. He was speechless. When the stitching was done, Ning Shu tied a knot, cut the thread with scissors, and wrapped the wound. Don't let the wound come into contact with water, and change the bandages frequently. Ning Shu put away his tools, slung them over his shoulder, and mounted his horse to chase after Qin Li. On the way, he caught up with Qin Li. Qin Li asked, Is Fang Yong okay? I won't die. Ning Shu wiped the blood off his face and asked, Do you understand the situation in Ping Town? There isn't much to gain from it. I'm relatively poor. Qin Li said. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to snatch this mission. It was just a demonstration to put Ping Town under Dazhou's jurisdiction. When they arrived at Ping Town, the gates were tightly shut. A group of people was watching them from the top of the city wall. Ning Shu pulled on the reins and stared at the people on the city wall. Are you the Revolutionary Army? Someone on the city wall shouted loudly. Qin Li's face was indifferent. Yes. You have 15 minutes to open the gates. Otherwise, we will attack by force. The people on the city wall gathered again and said something. Then, someone shouted, We can open the gates, but you can't kill the people in the town. The Revolutionary Army doesn't kill ordinary people, Qin Li said. What guarantee do you have? Qin Li said loudly. I can guarantee what I say. The Revolutionary Army doesn't kill ordinary people at all. You can rest assured. Qin Li's words were full of twists and turns. If they weren't ordinary people or evil people, they definitely wouldn't let them go. The people on the other side discussed for a long time. Finally, the gates opened with a creak. Qin Li waved his hand and rode his horse through the gates. There was no joy on his face. If it could be taken down so easily, it meant it wasn't worth it. Ning Shu smiled and said, This is a good thing. You subdued the enemy without a fight. It means the people's hearts are with the Revolutionary Army. A single spark can start a prairie fire. Qin Li said helplessly, I'm afraid we won't get anything out of this. There are always rich and evil people everywhere. If we kill these people, we will get something out of it, Ning Shu said. The mayor of Ping Town received Ning Shu and his sister. Qin Li saw the mayor's oily face, fat head, and big ears. He wore silk and satin, and he was so afraid of death that he opened the gates and surrendered. Qin Li wanted to kill the mayor. Ning Shu pulled Qin Li back. Qin Li gripped his long spear and said, Sister, look at him. He must have taken a lot of the people's money. What's the point of keeping someone like that? Brother, since this mayor is willing to surrender and has been in charge of Ping Town for so long, Ning Shu said, he is the most suitable person to manage Ping Town. However, we need to make an example out of him and scare him. People like that would be loyal to you if you were strong enough. As long as you were strong enough, they wouldn't dare betray you. Ping Town was close to Dazhou, so he wouldn't dare have any ideas. The more people like the mayor of Ping Town, the easier it would be for them to attack the town. Qin Li thought about it and called for a subordinate to go door to door and investigate the town's evil tyrants, rich and evil people, or people who were angry but didn't dare speak out. Chen Li brought people over and killed them. He wanted his subordinates to see blood. He couldn't just come here for fun. While he was at it, he took all the money. After killing people, he had to announce their crimes to the world. The fat mayor almost wet himself when he saw the Chen siblings covered in blood. He didn't dare question Qin Li and Ning Shu. Didn't they say they weren't going to kill anyone? Where was the trust between people? The mayor raised his hand and swore that he was loyal to the rebel army. Then, he took out all the good things in his house. There were about 2 boxes with jewelry and silver inside. Chen Li smiled, revealing his white teeth. He almost scared the mayor to tears. Chen Li shook the red tasseled long spear in his hand and said, "I hope the mayor can manage the town well. I hope every family can eat their fill. The mayor should know what to do." I know. Don't worry. Chen Li and Ning Shu took the food and silver they had plundered and left. When they returned to Dazhou, they would reward their subordinates according to their merits. "Sister, I will go alone next time," Chen Li said. "You are a woman. It is too dangerous." Ning Shu shook her head and said, "It's fine." With this condition, she naturally had to go to the battlefield. After the country was established, the woman would have to stay in the backyard and do embroidery to serve her husband. Usually, when a country was first established, it was the most tolerant time. They had to rely on this time to fight for some special privileges. Chen Li didn't say anything. Naturally, he hoped that his sister would be by his side. One person's ideas were short, and the 2 of them could discuss it. It was pretty good. After packing up, Chen Li went to report the situation to General Lu. When General Lu heard how Chen Li had handled it, he nodded and said, "Well done. This was your sister's idea, right?" Chen Li immediately smiled foolishly. He scratched his head and said, "It was my second sister's idea." "Unfortunately, your sister isn't a man," General Lu said with a bit of pity. Chapter 899. General Lu felt that this person called Chen Ermei was knowledgeable and had a deep heart. If she was a man, she would definitely enter the imperial court in the future. But as a woman, in this world dominated by men, she couldn't rely on her own strength to change anything. In the end, it was a waste of her talent. Chen Li also sighed. He was a man, but he didn't have his sister's brain. "Your sister has medical skills. I heard that she saved Fang Yong. How is your sister's medical skills?" General Lu asked. Chen Li said, "I don't know. She just reads medical books by herself." General Lu's expression was somewhat speechless. Was medical skills something that could be learned just by reading medical books? He waved his hand at Chen Li. "Go down." Chen Li cupped his hands and returned to the camp. Seeing Ning Shu checking the medicinal herbs, he walked over and asked, "Where did these medicinal herbs come from?" Ning Shu didn't raise his head and said, "Fang Yong sent someone to deliver them. He said it was to repay the kindness of saving his life." He didn't expect Fang Yong to plunder so many good things. "I thought you were angry with Fang Yong and wouldn't save him." Chen Li said, "After all, he caused such a ruckus in the village." Even Chen Li had a knot in his heart for Fang Yong. What Bai Yiqiao did was quite vicious. "Last time when we attacked the city, he blocked an arrow for me. An eye for an eye." Ning Shu said without much care. Although there was a grudge, he didn't have to kill the other party. Besides, General Lu probably wouldn't let them go. There was no way to work with others in the army. Human relationships were so complicated. Chen Li nodded. "You have a big heart. No wonder General Lu praised you." Ning Shu just grinned, his heart calm. Ning Shu obtained these medicinal herbs and prepared some medicine needed for the march. Dysentery or heat stroke, all kinds of small problems. Ever since Ning Shu saved Fang Yong and learned that Ning Shu was skilled in medicine, there would be people coming to Ning Shu almost every day to ask for medicine. Of course, they would not give it for free. Sometimes they would give some money or some strange things. Ning Shu would accept all of them. Ning Shu gave Chen Li 2 bottles of specially made jinchuang ointment, which could quickly stop the bleeding. He told Chen Li to give it to General Lu so that the siblings could show their faces in front of General Lu. As long as they had value, they could stay in the army. When there was nothing to do, Ning Shu would follow Chen-Li to attack the surrounding towns. Now that Chen-Li was the leader of 200 to 300 people, with Ning Shu by his side, things became more and more orderly. Every time they besieged a city, they would first persuade the enemy to surrender and take down the towns and villages with the least amount of losses. If they encountered a stubborn resistance, they could only attack them head-on. Every time they returned to the camp, they would be covered in blood. As more and more people in the team were able to cultivate Qijin, the team would become stronger and stronger. It didn't matter how many people there were, as long as there were enough of them to be able to fight 1 against 10. Moreover, to ensure his own power, General Lu would not let a leader control more than 500 soldiers. General Lu used Dazhou's resources to start making armor and weapons, as well as raising war horses. Only then would their battle power be strong. Basically, the towns and villages that had been attacked near Dazhou all tacitly accepted General Lu's rule. They did not listen to the imperial court and only recognized General Lu. If there was anyone who did not agree, they would be wiped out. Of course, in order to win over the hearts of the people, he would also give them all kinds of benefits. For example, he would not collect taxes. If the army needed money, he would take it from the corrupt officials and rich merchants. When the time was right, General Lu would take almost 100,000 people to attack the big cities next to Dazhou and slowly expand their territory. General Lu was not in a hurry to proclaim himself emperor. Instead, he slowly attacked every inch of land, using battle to support battle. After all, in order to support so many people, he had to attack more land, kill the corrupt officials, and take money from the rich to support the army. Ning Shu would go to every battle. Other than killing the enemy, he also had to carry a medicine box. If any important person in the army was injured, Ning Shu would have to immediately treat them. Although it was tough, Ning Shu clearly felt that his position in the army had increased. No one could guarantee that they would not be injured. War was so dangerous that even one's life could not be guaranteed, let alone being injured. However, Chen-Li was very conflicted. After a long time, he finally said to Ning Shu, "Sister, you've seen so many men's bodies. How are you going to get married in the future?" Ning Shu said, "With my achievements, even if I don't get married, no one will dare to say anything." "But women will still have to get married," Chen-Li said. "Don't tell me you want to be an old aunt?" Ning Shu's lips twitched. "Given the current situation, who do you think I can marry?" They were in the middle of a war. Why talk about marriage? Chen-Li sighed. If a woman doesn't get married, she will be criticized. Criticized, Ning Shu said calmly. A woman's status could not be changed. If she did not get married, men would not be able to wear her down. It was a chaotic world now. Who would care about the stupid law that said a 17-year-old woman's parents were guilty if she did not get married? She did not believe that with her achievements, she would not be able to choose her own life. Every time Chen-Li tried to reason with his sister, she would not listen. He changed the topic and said, "Sister, it's been more than 2 years. It will be 3 years soon. Can you send a letter home? Father and mother will be worried." Ning Shu was dazed for a moment. She had already stayed in this world for so long. Ning Shu thought for a moment. Let's wait a little longer. Why do we have to wait to write a letter? What's there to wait for? Chen-Li asked, puzzled. Wait until General Lu becomes emperor. We'll write a letter to father and mother after we receive the reward, Ning Shu said. Chen-Li said, isn't the matter of becoming emperor temporarily postponed? Now that General Lu has 30% of the country in his hands, he can become emperor. Ning Shu said, didn't you notice that there has been some movement recently? Ning Shu felt that she was already quite stupid, but she did not expect Chen-Li's brain to be even stupider than hers. General Lu had always wanted to become emperor, and now the time was ripe. Chen-Li pursed his lips. I'm not a roundworm in General Lu's stomach. How would I know what he's thinking? Chen-Li went out to train the soldiers. Fang Yong came over with the herbs and placed them on the table. Ning Shu said, give me 10 bottles of injury medicine. Fang Yong pushed the herbs to Ning Shu. Clearly, he wanted to use these herbs to exchange for them. Ning Shu generously accepted the herbs and gave Fang Yong 10 bottles of Jinchuang ointment. Fang Yong accepted the Jinchuang ointment and looked at Ning Shu. Sister Chen, I think you are suitable to be a military doctor. Sometimes, saving people is more effective than killing people. Ning Shu smiled. Thank you for your suggestion. I will consider it. Fang Yong nodded and left with the ointment. After Fang Yong left, Ning Shu rested her chin on her hand. How could she not know that? But she had to have military merits first. Chen Ermei was probably suitable to be a military doctor, but she could not accept looking at a man's body. Ning Shu took out a notebook and ground an ink stick to record the ratio of the various medicinal powders. She also recorded the diseases that were most likely to be contracted during the war, how to treat them, and how to treat some wounds. Chapter 900. When there was nothing to do, Ning Shu would record down all the medical knowledge she knew that was suitable for the ancient army. When she possessed a body, these skills would remain in the body of the original owner. As long as she practiced diligently, she would be able to use them for herself. Recently, there had been no battles, but the air was suffused with an oppressive and joyful atmosphere. Chen Li ran in front of Ning Shu and whispered, "Second sister, General Lu is really going to proclaim himself emperor. I heard that General Lu has already ordered the embroiderers to rush out the dragon robes and official uniforms." That's to be expected. Ning Shu did not even raise her head as she dipped her brush in ink. Chen Li sat across from Ning Shu and said with some longing, "Second sister, what kind of official position is General Lu going to confer on us?" Ning Shu somewhat helplessly put down her brush and said, "No matter what position it is, it will all be the imperial favor. Big brother, in the future, be more careful with your words. I'd rather be silent than say too much. Think more in your heart." "Yes, the imperial favor is vast," Chen Li said. "Since he's going to proclaim himself emperor and establish the title of the country, there will definitely be civil officials. When dealing with civil officials, you have to be careful," Ning Shu said. "Big brother, if you have nothing to do, read more books," Ning Shu said. Chen Li's expression was rather helpless. As long as these corrupt civil officials were present, Ning Shu felt that she would have no chance of entering the imperial court. Her achievements would at most allow her to enjoy special privileges. It was not easy to achieve this. Not long after, General Lu announced the date of the coronation and had everyone prepare. Everyone began to get busy. They had to build a somewhat presentable imperial palace before proclaiming themselves emperor. In the meantime, General Lu led the army to attack another province. Ning Shu also went. Perhaps this was the last battle before proclamation, so everyone seemed to be on steroids. They did their best in the hopes of obtaining a high position and a generous salary. Morale was high, and in less than half a day, the city was taken. On one hand, the other side had no desire to fight. On the other hand, the people on the other side, stimulated by glory and wealth, howled and howled, wanting nothing more than to kill everyone by themselves. With great rewards, brave men were bound to emerge. On this day, the weather was clear. Banners flapped in the wind, drums beat, and countless soldiers lined up neatly below the platform. The air was solemn and dignified. Ning Shu and Chen Li sat on horseback, with the Chen family army behind them. Fang Yong was beside Chen Li, looking straight at the high platform. Thump, thump, thump. Amidst the drumming, General Lu appeared. He was wearing an emperor's crown and a black dragon robe embroidered with golden threads. He stood on top of the chariot like the Son of God. 8 horses pulled the chariot and slowly walked towards the high platform. General Lu walked up the red stairs step by step, steadily and slowly walking up to the high platform, looking down at the crowd. Ning Shu, who was sitting on the back of the horse, quickly got down. All the generals and soldiers knelt on the ground and shouted, "Long live the emperor, long live the emperor, long live the emperor, long live the emperor." His voice resounded through the sky, covering the sound of the drums. After the cheering stopped, there was only the sound of fluttering flags. General Lu shouted, "Everyone rise." "Thank you, Your Majesty." Guard Zhou, who was beside General Lu, opened the imperial edict and read, I have experienced many hardships, fought with the officials for many years, and finally achieved great things. Among the people, the officials work together to promote me, saying that I am virtuous and meritorious. The way of the emperor is consistent. Although I am blessed by the heavens, but today, under the joint efforts of the officials, I am also ashamed to accept the great deeds and the effort of moving mountains. I have many ambitions, but I want to achieve great things. Following the way of the heavens, on the 10th day of the 9th month of this year, I prayed to the ancestral temple, ascended the throne, built the Yuan army, and named the country Great Yen. Only with sincerity, with justice, with benevolence, with peace and prosperity, this is, long live the emperor, Yen Kingdom. After a series of complicated ceremonies, it was time to confer meritorious service. Ning Shu saw Chen Li's body tremble with excitement. Guard Zhou opened the imperial edict and read out the rewards. Ning Shu listened carefully and heard that Fang Yong's reward was General of the Guard, which was a general of the 3-duke rank. The reward was quite high. Fang Yong knelt and received the armor, shouting, "Long live the emperor." When it was Chen Li's turn, he was awarded General of the East, one of the 4 expedition generals. He was a 3rd-grade general, 2 or 3 grades lower than Fang Yong. Fang Yong's meritorious service was indeed more than Chen Li's, and his ability was outstanding. His archery was superb, and his conduct was outstanding. This was something that Ning Shu could not deny. It was already very good for Chen Li to receive this reward. After all the generals were rewarded, it was Ning Shu's turn. Guard Zhou looked at Ning Shu and read, "There is a girl, Sister Chen, who has outstanding military service, and is conferred the title of Ningyuan Army General." Ning Shu knelt down and thanked, "The emperor's grace is vast and mighty." Everyone looked at Ning Shu. Chen Li could not help but frown. Ningyuan Army General was a 5th-grade military rank. She had a lot of meritorious service, which was why she was given a 5th-grade military rank. Even Fang Yong could not help but raise his eyebrows. Her meritorious service was not limited to this. Ning Shu sighed in his heart. If a woman wanted to receive the same reward as a man, she would have to pay twice, 5 times, countless times more than a man. In addition, Sister Chen will be given a red ink iron certificate. She will enjoy the salary of a princess. Guard Zhou continued. Ning Shu was stunned for a moment, but with a smile on his face, he shouted, "The emperor's grace is vast and mighty." She was the only one present who received the red ink iron certificate. To a certain extent, this thing was a gold medal for avoiding death. As long as she did not seek death, her status was extraordinary. Ning Shu received the red ink iron certificate. It was engraved with her deeds, but most of them were about her saving people. Ning Shu lowered his head and quickly glanced at the emperor on the high platform. He thought in his heart that the emperor probably did not want him to go into battle to kill the enemy. Instead, he wanted him to do what a doctor should do. After establishing a country, he would not tolerate a woman messing up the court. He could give her preferential treatment, such as the salary of a princess. All kinds of thoughts flashed through Ning Shu's mind as he tried to figure out what the emperor was thinking. However, the name of the Chen family having 2 generals was quite pleasant to the ears. To a certain extent, the Yen emperor acknowledged her meritorious service. However, he could not give her a high position. Ning Shu's official position was actually empty. He did not need to go to court at all. When the court stabilized, Chen Li and the others would go to war. Ning Shu did not carry a spear or a horse anymore. Instead, he carried a medicine box and saved people. Ning Shu took the initiative to tell the Yen emperor that he wanted to train a few military doctors. Sometimes, there would be too many injured people for him to handle. The Yen emperor agreed immediately. He also said that if there were no suitable candidates, he could recommend a few. Ning Shu could only say that there were already candidates. The people recommended by the Yen emperor were all loyal to him. He did not know if the Yen emperor would consider the relationship between master and disciple. Ning Shu chose a few young men to learn medicine from him. However, the Yen emperor recommended 2 young men. Ning Shu could not chase them away, so he taught them together. Chapter 901. After teaching the basic things to these disciples, they could treat the basic wounds. Ning Shu told the Yan Emperor that she missed her parents and wanted to go home. She didn't know how the two elders of the Qin family were doing. She didn't know when the letter would arrive. Going home was faster than writing a letter. The Yan Emperor agreed immediately. It wasn't a big deal, so he could give her special treatment. He even sent a team to escort Ning Shu back. Ning Shu saluted and said, "No need, I can go back myself. The front lines are tight right now. There's no need to waste manpower on something as trivial as this. Wealth and honor is like walking in the night. All your glory came from your own hard work. It's better to return to your hometown with wealth and honor," the Yan Emperor said. "Your status is different now. Naturally, you're not an ordinary person." What kind of status do what kind of things? Ning Shu was speechless. Damn, wasn't that what she said to the Yan Emperor before? Was she going to take revenge now? "I was talking nonsense before. Please forgive me, Your Majesty." Ning Shu half squatted and saluted. "No matter, I won't take it to heart," the Yan Emperor said. Ning Shu was speechless. Damn, it felt like this guy was holding a grudge. At this time, 1 or 2 palace maids came in with a tray. On the tray was a luxurious red dress. On the 2 trays were all kinds of headwear and jewelry. "If you're a woman, wear women's clothes back," the Yan Emperor said. Ning Shu saluted. "I thank the Emperor for his kindness." Ning Shu told Qin Li that she was going home. Qin Li wanted to send his deputy to Ning Shu, but Ning Shu refused. The next day, Ning Shu brought a group of people back home in a grandiose manner. They rushed back to the town almost as quickly as they could. After not going home for a long time, Ning Shu felt a bit homesick. In the town, Ning Shu washed up and changed into women's clothes. A maid helped Ning Shu comb her hair, put on a hairpin, and put in a luxurious dangyao. With makeup on her face, she really did have a graceful and luxurious feeling. After leaving the tavern, Ning Shu got into a carriage. The carriage was covered with gauze, and there were golden bells hanging from the 4 corners. As the carriage moved along, the clear tinkling of the bells could be heard. Such a scene was rather conspicuous in the small town, and the streets were filled with people. Ning Shu casually scanned the crowd, and actually saw Bai Yiqiao and Wen Yu in the crowd. The 2 of them were very close to each other, and it seemed that their relationship was not shallow. Could it be that Bai Yiqiao was with Wen Yu? After not seeing each other for 3 years, Ning Shu felt that Bai Yiqiao was not happy. Her eyebrows were shrouded in a heavy cloud of worry. When the group arrived at the entrance of the village, Ning Shu got off the carriage and headed towards the Qin family. Madame Li was using a dustpan to toss the beans. Ning Shu's eyes were a little sore. He didn't know if it was his own or the original owner's emotions. He opened his mouth and called out to Li Shi, "Mother." Madame Li was stunned for a moment, and looked around suspiciously. Ning Shu approached Madame Li. "Mother, I am second sister." The dustpan in Madame Li's hand fell to the ground. "It's really second sister." "It's me. Old man, second sister is back." Madame Li turned around and ran into the house, crying and shouting at Father Qin. When Father Qin came out of the house and saw Ning Shu, he didn't dare to recognize him. With a trembling voice, he said, "Second sister?" "AI." Ning Shu crisply replied. Madame Li suddenly cried and wanted to hug Ning Shu, but when she saw Ning Shu's clothes, she retracted her hand. Ning Shu hugged Madame. Madame Li cried fiercely, but Father Qin was impatient and told her to shut up. Ning Shu told him what happened when he left home. When Father Qin learned that Qin Li was a general, his thin and old face suddenly became red. "Then is your older brother married? He needs to have children to carry on the family line." Ning Shu. Madame Li listened to Ning Shu's story. While listening, she clasped her hands together and kept praying for Bodhisattva's protection. There was still a team at the entrance of the village. Ning Shu took out the money, and Madame Li said that she would prepare delicious food for them. Father Qin lit incense for his ancestors and was very happy. Ning Shu also saw Father Qin pinching his own thigh. After pinching it, he laughed and strolled out of the house. In less than half a day, the whole village knew about it. There were also some people in the village who followed Qin Li, and they also became successful. Ning Shu sent some letters to the families of the soldiers under his command. For a time, the whole village was filled with firecrackers. Ning Shu asked Madame Li about Bai Yiqiao. Speaking of Bai Yiqiao, Madame Li's expression was indifferent. It seems that after separating from Fang Yong, she followed the boss of Auspicious House. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. She really was together with Wen Yu. The two of them got married? Ning Shu asked. I don't know about this. Madame Li said, Bai Yiqiao didn't have that fate. Now that Fang Yong also came out, his rank is higher than your older brother. Ning Shu nodded his head. She didn't have that fate. Madame Li said. Ning Shu smiled. Now that Fang Yong had risen in the chaotic world, the glory and wealth had nothing to do with her. Because before Fang Yong left, he wrote a letter to divorce Bai Yiqiao. Bai Yiqiao had always wanted to trample Chen Ermiai into the mud. Now that she was a general, she was given an iron certificate and glory and wealth. She didn't know how Bai Yiqiao vomited. Bai Yiqiao was shocked when she found out that Chen Ermiai was sitting in the three-horse carriage. The matter of Qin family and Fang family had spread crazily throughout the town. Bai Yiqiao didn't expect that the Qin family in this life would be better than in her previous life. That silly Qin Li actually became a general. A family with two generals. Oh, Chen Ermiai, a woman, could also become a general? She thought that she could change her fate and be together with Fang Yong. But fate favored Chen Ermiai even more. From a madam to a female general, she was given an iron certificate and enjoyed the treatment of a princess. But could it be that Fang Yong and Chen Ermiai still wanted to be together? Bai Yiqiao's hands tightly pinched her skirt. Her knuckles turned white. She absolutely wouldn't allow this to happen. She and Li Guzi had an inexplicable relationship. It must have something to do with Chen Ermiai. Fang Yong, Fang Yong. When she said this name, Bai Yiqiao's heart ached. Her biggest concern after her rebirth was Fang Yong. She couldn't let go of Fang Yong. She should have been happy with Fang Yong. Bai Yiqiao took a deep breath, opened the cabinet and began to pack things. When you walked in and saw Bai Yiqiao packing things, she couldn't help but ask, Where are you going? I'm going to find Fang Yong. He can't do this to me. Bai Yiqiao said firmly. Wen Yu's expression was a little worried. She said, Fang Yong has already divorced you. If you go find him like this, you're just asking for humiliation. Bai Yiqiao took a deep breath. Fang Yong and I can't be separated like this. Fang Yong is my everything. Wen Yu didn't expect that she had accompanied Bai Yiqiao for nearly 3 years, but she didn't enter her heart. He resisted the pressure of his family and planned to marry an abandoned woman, Bai Yiqiao. Moreover, she was an abandoned woman who had lost her virginity. But Bai Yiqiao didn't agree. She only had Fang Yong in her heart. Wen Yu, thank you. You are a good person. You will meet a woman who truly loves you. Her body and mind belong to you. Bai Yiqiao said, I'm not worthy of you. Chapter 902. Bai Yiqiao apologized to Wen Yu, then took the package and left. Wen Yu grabbed Bai Yiqiao's arm and asked in a low voice, Are you really going? Bai Yiqiao pushed away Wen Yu's hand and said, Wen Yu, I know you are good to me, but being moved is not a feeling. You will meet a girl you really like. Wen Yu tightly pursed her lips. Do you think Fang Yong will marry you again? No matter what, I love Fang Yong. Bai Yiqiao said firmly. Wen Yu's face was unwilling for a moment, but finally said, Then I wish you happiness. Even if I meet you in the future, I will pretend that I don't know you. We are strangers. Wen Yu, I am sorry. Bai Yiqiao hugged Wen Yu's waist, and tears wet Wen Yu's chest. Before leaving, Bai Yiqiao made such an ambiguous move. Bai Yiqiao inquired when Chen Ermiai would return to the capital. After staying at home for 2 days, Ning Shu took the 2 elders of the Qin family and some family members of the soldiers in the village to the capital. Ning Shu also compensated some soldiers who sacrificed their lives. Father Chen and Mrs. Li have long wanted to see Qin Li. When Ning Shu said that he wanted to go to the capital, the 2 of them did not object. They slaughtered all the domestic animals at home and gave them to the guards who escorted Ning Shu back. They also held a banquet for the whole day and invited the whole village to eat. Ning Shu took the two elders to the town to buy good clothes and some jewelry for Mrs. Li. When there was nothing to do, he asked Mrs. Li to apply a facial mask. When it was close to departure, the two elders almost didn't sleep all night, but the next day, they were very energetic as if they had eaten a big tonic pill. The three of them sat in a carriage and went to the capital. Father Chen and Mrs. Li have never been far away from home. At first, they were very novel, but after a long time, they couldn't stand it. The two of them were carsick. Ning Shu gave the two of them a bag of medicine to wake them up, so that they could smell it when they felt uncomfortable. When they were halfway there, a guard came to Ning Shu and said, "General, someone is following us. They have been following us all the way." Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. "Go and ask who it is." The guard soon returned. Ning Shu said, "It was a woman who said her surname was Bai. She said she was going to the capital to find someone." Ning Shu almost laughed out loud. Bai Yiqiao wanted to go to Dedu to find Fang Yong. Ning Shu was gloating in his heart. With Bai Yiqiao going, he reckoned that there would be trouble. So Bai Yiqiao is a green tea bitch. In the years when Fang Yong left, there were also men who cared about her. Once she had a good goal, she immediately kicked Wen Yu away. Bai Yiqiao's heart was big. She felt that only Fang Yong was worthy of her. In fact, she looked down on Wen Yu. Wen Yu was just a merchant. Although she was rich, she couldn't let people bow and bend their knees to her. They were all unwilling to give up and felt that they deserved better. Don't worry about it. When they arrived at Dedu, Ning Shu placed the two elders in the house given by the Yan Emperor. The two elders of the Qin family had never lived in such a big house in their lives. There were also servant girls serving them. Every day they felt like they were dreaming. Because Chen Li was not at home, Ning Shu accompanied the two elders. Bai Yiqiao followed the team to Dedu and inquired about the place where Fang Yong lived. Because Fang Yong was busy fighting, there was only Fang Yong's mother in the big house. Bai Yiqiao wanted to visit Fang Yong's mother, but was refused. The old lady basically didn't go out. Bai Yiqiao had no way to see the old lady. Originally, she should have been the owner of this house. She had money to buy a house, but the meaning was different. Bai Yiqiao waited for half a month before Fang Yong and Qin Li returned in triumph. Bai Yiqiao stood on the street and looked at Fang Yong on horseback. She thought of her previous life, which was also so heroic. When the army entered the city, the people lined the streets to welcome them. Some young women also threw money bags at unmarried men like Fang Yong and Qin Li. Bai Yiqiao held her handkerchief tightly. She didn't know how many people were thinking about Fang Yong. As soon as Qin Li returned home, Madame Li hugged Qin Li and cried for a while. Then at the dinner table, Father Chen quickly asked Qin Li to get married. Qin Li didn't have the heart to get married. It was the most intense time of the war between the two countries. Facing the pressure of his parents, Qin Li could only ask Ning Shu for help. Ning Shu opened his mouth and said, "Father, Mother, now that Gij is the Western general, there are many people who are willing to marry Gij, but it's not easy to find a good wife. You choose first. Gij has no opinion, right, Gij?" "Yes, you look at each other first," Chen Li said again and again. But then it was about Ning Shu's marriage. He said that he wanted to marry Ning Shu to what kind of family. Ning Shu didn't say anything and was expressionless. Anyway, it's none of her business. As soon as Fang Yong returned home, he was told by his mother that Bai Yiqiao came to find him. Hearing Bai Yiqiao's name, Fang Yong frowned and just told his mother to ignore it. But Bai Yiqiao came to the gate of the house almost every day to find Fang Yong. In addition, Fang Yong was the best candidate for a son-in-law. His family conditions were simple. He had no brothers and only a mother. Too many people coveted Fang Yong. Bai Yiqiao was a little flustered. She also spent some money to spread the word that she was Fang Yong's wife. But Fang Yong still ignored her. Even if he met her, Fang Yong also ignored her. Bai Yiqiao was almost singing a one-man show. She deeply analyzed how much she loved Fang Yong in her heart and how innocent she was. "So, you have to forgive me." Or she tried to be affectionate with Fang Yong. She hoped that Fang Yong could remember the happy days of the two of them and Fang Yong's heart would soften. But Fang Yong was still expressionless and didn't have any reaction. Fang Yong was a man with strong ideas. People with strong beliefs will not be shaken. The other party didn't respond. Bai Yiqiao was a little anxious. She even accused Fang Yong of being a rich man and abandoning his wife. She was a copy of Chen Shimi. Bai Yiqiao was very persistent. She used a lot of methods, showing weakness, threatening, pretending to be pitiful, self-mutilating, and even hanging in front of Fang Yong's house. Anyway, it was quite lively. It added a lot of jokes to the people of the capital. Ning Shu almost moved a stool to sit in front of Fang Yong's house to watch the show. Now in the war, Ning Shu basically didn't follow. It was her disciples who ran on the battlefield. Even if these people got high positions, she also had a share. Faith power wouldn't be little. Ding, mission completed. Do you want to leave the mission world? 2333's voice sounded in his mind. He had been in this world for a long time. Counting the days, Chen Ermei was now 18 years old. Leave. He nodded. His head buzzed and he returned to the system space. Ning Shu felt very tired. He first laid on the bed and slept. War could destroy everything. Every time he fought and killed people, it was the most tiring. Exhaustion came from his soul. Chapter 903. Ning Shu lay straight on the bed, closed his eyes, and chanted the clear heart mantra in his heart, calming his mind as he slowly fell asleep. When he woke up, he was refreshed and no longer felt tired. After waking up, Ning Shu sat cross-legged on the bed and began to absorb the soul power in the system space. When he was almost done cultivating, Ning Shu opened his eyes. Suddenly, a person appeared in front of him, staring straight at him. Ning Shu was shocked, but his expression was indifferent. It would be a joke if he was scared in his own territory. The person who came was Chen Ermei. Chen Ermei's soul was much dimmer than before. Clearly, she had already paid the reward. Ning Shu was a little surprised and asked, "You haven't gone back yet?" Chen Ermei bowed to Ning Shu and said, "I wanted to see you before I go back and thank you." Ning Shu returned the greeting and politely said, "No need to thank me. You and I each took what we needed. I also wanted to complete the mission. It's good that you are satisfied. No matter what, I still have to thank you." Chen Ermei bowed again. "Really, there's no need," Ning Shu said. Chen Ermei smiled. Her originally tired and old face slowly became youthful. Clearly, she was going to go back. Her figure gradually disappeared from the system space. Ning Shu couldn't help but smile. Although it was to complete the mission, hearing the person who entrusted it to him still made his heart feel very comfortable. Ning Shu opened the status panel. He wanted to see how much he had gained this time. There should be a lot of faith power. At least he had made a contribution. After going to the battlefield so painstakingly, he should have a lot of points and attributes. Ning Shu now wanted to gather 20 million to become an advanced mission taker and go to a higher level world. He needed to find materials to construct a world. If he succeeded in constructing a world, he wouldn't have to worry about being obliterated. He would have his own world. Just thinking about it made him excited. Number 2333. Name, Ning Shu, intermediate mission taker. Age, 27 points, 11. 15/4 million soul, 310 health, 81 wisdom, 264 charm, 10 luck, 99 spirit, 170 faith, 34141000 strength, 182 aptitude, 79 merit, 13045 skills, 5th ring shooting technique, trash fighting technique, beginner level peerless martial arts, beginner level poison technique, beginner level business management knowledge, beginner level code programming, beginner level lawyer skills, master ghost catching skills. Honorary titles: Goddess of War, Selfless Ancestor Items, Calm Halo, Faith Halo, Amulet 5, Upgraded Amulet 2. Halo, Mother of the World, Queen's Blessing, Sister Model Worker, Qinshi's Blessing, Leader Halo, Grass Blessing, Best Friend for a Lifetime, Meow Meow Meow's Blessing, Savior, Zhu Su Nyang's Blessing, Founding Female General, Chen Ermei's Blessing, to fulfill Chen Ermei's wish, to take revenge on Bai Yiqiao and Li Guzi. Quest completion rate, 100%. Obtained 4 million credit, 80 attribute points, 1000 faith power, and Chen Ermiai's blessing. Ning Shu smiled. His harvest this time was really good. He now had 15 million points. If he did 1 or 2 more missions, he might be able to become a high-level mission enforcer. 80 attribute points, the highest in history. He could add it to any attribute points he wanted. There was no need to be as stingy as before. Serial number, 2333. Name, Ning Shu, intermediate mission taker. Age, 27 credit points, 150,000 soul points, 31010 health points, 110 wisdom points, 26410 charm points, 10 luck points, 920 MP, 17010 faith power, 515 martial points, 18210 qualifications, 910 merit, 13045 skills. 5th ring shooting technique, trash fighting technique, absolute martial arts entry, beginner poison technique, beginner business management knowledge, beginner code programming, beginner lawyer skill, ghost catching skill. Honorary titles, Goddess of War, Selfless Ancestor items, Calm Halo, Faith Halo, Amulet 5, Upgraded Amulet 2. Halo, Mother of the World, Queen's Blessing, Sister Model Worker, Qinshi's Blessing, Leader Halo, Grass Blessing, Best Friend for a Lifetime, Meow Meow Meow's Blessing, Saving Savior, Zhu Su Nyang's Blessing, Founding Female General, Chen Ermiai's Blessing. Ning Shu looked at so many halos. They didn't seem to be of any use. He asked 2333, what's the use of these halos? 2333 explained, those who give you their blessings will generate the power of faith in you. They will contribute to your power of faith. Ning Shu said, oh, so they can generate faith power. Ning Shu sat on the sofa and said, let's see how Chen Ermiai goes back. A screen appeared in front of Ning Shu. Chen Li and Chen Ermiai appeared on the screen. Chen Ermiai was reading a book and flipping through some herbs. Chen Li asked, Sister, there are so many men waiting for you to choose. You're not young anymore. Father and mother are dying. Which one do you like? Brother will help you get him. Chen Ermiai didn't care at all. What kind of men are they? These men want to rely on me for glory and wealth, but they feel that marrying me will hurt their self-esteem. They look so wronged. Chen Li nodded helplessly. The halos on your body are really unbearable for men. Especially now that Chen Ermiai's medical skills were getting better and better. Almost all the generals would fight for her, but no man would fight for her to be their wife. Oh, men are useless, and they blame me for being capable? Chen Ermiai sniffed the herbs. Men want to rely on me for glory and wealth, but they want me to satisfy their self-esteem. If you don't get married, you'll become an old lady. Do you want to be pointed at everywhere you go? Chen Li said. A maverick will always be criticized. Men are unhappy that the merit is given to a woman like me. Women are jealous that I can control my own fate, but they can't. They slander and attack me to express the depression in their hearts. Chen Ermiai said indifferently. Chen Li was speechless. He couldn't argue with her at all. Chen Ermiai was satisfied with her current life. No matter how good a man was, she wouldn't care if she was tortured to death by Li Guzi. Some things were ingrained in men's bones. Chen Li was speechless. He took out a portrait and said to Chen Ermiai, look at this. It's the son of the Minister of Personnel. He's a famous scholar in Dadu. Chen Ermiai glanced at the portrait and thought for a moment before nodding. I've seen him before. I think it was at a banquet. Chen Li's eyes lit up. What do you think? Oh, he said in public that I'm a shrew, a demoness with bloody hands. Whoever marries me will be committing a sin, Chen Ermiai said. Chapter 904. Chen Li. Chen Li threw the portrait on the ground. I won't let him go, the bloody female devil. I'll show him who's the real devil. What about this? Chen Li took out another portrait. Prime Minister Li's eldest son. I heard that he's interested in you. He even tried to get close to me and asked about your situation. He's not bad. He's going to take over his father's position in the future. He's currently in the Ministry of Rights. I heard that he's a talent with a bright future. Qinli said. Pert? What you hear might not be true. Chen Ermiai's expression was cold. Then have you heard? He has a confidant, but his father has given him a death order to marry me. Now the wars are endless and the military officials are gaining power. Prime Minister Li wants to marry me. You said that young Master Li wants to marry me home and worship me like a clay bodhisattva. Then he will be loving with his confidant. Brother, you've walked through mountains of corpses and seas of blood. It's not easy to have such a life. Brother wants to give you to such a person. Chen Ermiai's expression was helpless. Chen Li, fuck. Chen Li threw the portrait on the ground and stomped on it. Fuck. But sister, men and women should marry when they're of age. Father and mother. Chen Li's expression was also very helpless. Since these embroidered pillows won't work, why don't you choose from the military? But these men aren't good people to entrust my life to. Am I going to marry just for the sake of others? I'm not willing. I'm not afraid of death. I'm only afraid that in the backyard, I'll only see my husband. Chen Ermiai said, I paid a huge price to escape from the backyard, but you guys are trying to send me back. Chen Li looked at his sister's red eyes and sighed, up to you. I won't force you. Really, it's good to have someone to dote on you, just like your sister-in-law. Chen Li said, your sister-in-law dotes on me a lot. She's very heartwarming. Chen Ermiai fiddled with the herbs. Good women are easy to find, but good men are extinct. Chen Ermiai said without sincerity, maybe I can meet a man I'm willing to marry. Chen Li was expressionless. No one is perfect. You always magnify other people's flaws. How can you meet a good match? Then tell me, which of these men you mentioned is worthy of me tolerating them? Chen Ermiai asked. Chen Li was speechless. I have something to do in the army. I'll take my leave first. Chen Li turned around and left. Chen Ermiai rolled her eyes and continued to fiddle with the herbs. The matter between Bai Yiqiao and Fang Yong had never been resolved. Bai Yiqiao had always considered herself as Fang Yong's wife. It really caused a storm in the city. Even when he went to court, the Yan Emperor asked Fang Yong about it. Fang Yong said that they were husband and wife, but their marriage had already been annulled. It was none of their business. Fang Yong's mother was so annoyed with Bai Yiqiao that she began to look for a wife for Fang Yong. Bai Yiqiao also had some thoughts in her heart. Fang Yong had power and influence, and he also had soldiers in his hands. It was very easy for him to kill a commoner like her. If she made a big deal out of it, Fang Yong wouldn't dare to kill her to cover up the truth. She could also announce that she was Fang Yong's wife, killing two birds with one stone. However, no matter how many methods Bai Yiqiao had, she couldn't shake Fang Yong, who was as immovable as a mountain. Moreover, Fang Yong's mother wouldn't agree. At that time, after Bai Yiqiao's miscarriage, because of excessive blood loss, it was difficult for her to give birth. Now that Fang Yong's identity was different, there was no point in her working hard to build a career without descendants. Using her own body to build a career and property to protect her descendants. Without descendants, what was the point of playing? Fang Yong's mother was very displeased with Bai Yiqiao, who didn't know what was going on. Sometimes, Chen Ermiai would also join in the fun. She was very bad-hearted. Whenever she had nothing to do, she would wear luxurious clothes and sit in a luxurious carriage in front of Bai Yiqiao. Bai Yiqiao was so angry that her face turned white. Every time she saw Chen Ermiai like this, Bai Yiqiao's heart would scratch, as if a rake was raking her heart over and over again, bringing out wounds one after another. Bai Yiqiao really wanted to pounce on this woman and scratch her face. Don't think that she didn't see the pride on her face. However, Chen Ermiai had guards around her, and she was also a general. Bai Yiqiao could only endure it. Her heart was bleeding and she watched her leave. It wasn't that Bai Yiqiao didn't think about dealing with Chen Ermiai. In private, she spread rumors that Chen Ermiai was shameless, but soon those who spread the rumors were imprisoned. In the face of absolute strength, any conspiracy could be destroyed with brute force. It was so simple and crude that Bai Yiqiao vomited blood. People used their power to suppress people. Why didn't they use the rights they got from surviving a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood? When Bai Yiqiao was depressed, she met Wen Yu in the capital. Seeing Wen Yu, Bai Yiqiao's heart was full of grievances and she wanted to tell Wen Yu. Bai Yiqiao was used to having grievances. Wen Yu comforted her. During this time, Bai Yiqiao's heart was full of bitterness. However, she saw Wen Yu choose a hairpin from the stall and insert it into a woman's hair bun. The woman smiled at Wen Yu. Bai Yiqiao instantly felt a surge of anger from her heart. She felt betrayed. Wen Yu kept saying that he liked her and loved her, but now he was with someone else. Subconsciously, Bai Yiqiao hoped that Wen Yu would keep his chastity. Even if he didn't marry for the rest of his life, his heart would be on her. She never thought that other women would give Wen Yu happiness. It was enough to love her. Bai Yiqiao was a Mary Sue green tea bitch. Wen Yu turned his head and saw Bai Yiqiao staring at him. He was stunned for a moment. The woman next to him asked him what was wrong. Wen Yu was just a little stunned. He turned his head and said nothing to the woman. Then he left with the woman without looking back. He walked away calmly. He said that he wanted to treat her as a stranger. Now he really treated her as a stranger? Ignoring her like this made Bai Yiqiao feel even more uncomfortable than mocking her. Did this mean that Wen Yu really didn't have her in his heart? The most heartbreaking thing in the world was that something that would always belong to her was gone. Bai Yiqiao felt that Wen Yu's love would always belong to her. She could make Wen Yu love her and engrave it in his heart. But how could Wen Yu be so calm now? Bai Yiqiao even doubted whether Wen Yu really loved her. But could Wen Yu fake the 3 years that he had been by her side? Bai Yiqiao wanted to rush up and question Wen Yu. Did he love her or not? But when she saw him lowering his head and talking to the woman beside him with a gentle expression, she couldn't move her feet. That gentleness used to belong to her. Bai Yiqiao felt that she had been abandoned by the world. Everything that belonged to her was gone. God was really unfair. Bai Yiqiao's face was twisted with resentment. Ning Shu turned off the screen. Because of greed, he didn't get anything. There was nothing waiting for you in place. How could it be possible to get all the benefits? Chapter 905. He didn't know if Chen Ermiai found someone she liked in the end, but with Chen Ermiai's situation, it wasn't easy to find someone. Chen Ermiai didn't seem to be ready to get married. As long as he was happy. To be able to give so many points and attribute points, it meant that Chen Ermiai was still very satisfied with the mission. Ning Shu took out the Ultimate Martial Arts secret book from the bookshelf. There were more and more Qijin patterns in it, and it needed to slowly form a world. But she couldn't even find the origin of the world. The road ahead was long. She put the secret book on the bookshelf and opened the chat system. She heard a ding-dong sound. Someone asked to talk to her. Ning Shu saw that it was number 6457. Ning Shu, wasn't this Zhang Jiasen? She was very sensitive to this number. This person was someone who killed her once. Their hatred was as deep as the ocean. Ning Shu didn't understand why Zhang Jiasen was so insistent on talking to her. She didn't understand what Zhang Jiasen wanted to do. The two of them had already shed all pretense of cordiality. What was the point of this? It was undeniable that Zhang Jiasen was full of malice towards her. Zhang Jiasen could apologize and stab her with a knife when the time was right. If the time was right, he would kill her. It was rare to see such a shameless person. It seemed that she had to be prepared to not show mercy when she met Zhang Jiasen. A wolf was eyeing her covetously. This feeling was really uncomfortable. She had to kill the wolf completely. Ning Shu directly rejected Zhang Jiasen's request to talk to her. She didn't want to talk to Zhang Jiasen at all. Every word was worth points. What a waste. Ning Shu looked to see if anyone else had sent her a message. None. Looking at her empty chat interface, she felt that she didn't have many friends. It was just that she hadn't met a like-minded friend. There was no rush. She would meet someone eventually. Ning Shu closed the chat interface and opened a book from the bookshelf. Just as she was about to read, System 2333 suddenly coughed as if it had tuberculosis. Cough, 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 cough. 2333 coughed. Ning Shu raised her eyebrows and asked, "You're poisoned?" Let's do a system quest for the next quest, okay? 2333 Ning Shu said. Ning Shu closed the book and asked, "What system?" I got a beloved concubine system. As you know, I need data and luck to perfect myself. I need to perfect the data. Ning Shu's face was indifferent. What does your leveling up have to do with me? Leveling up is useless, so why waste it? I just don't want to work for you. Ning Shu really despised the useless 2333. Don't be like this. We're all girls in a brothel. If we're too weak, we'll be taken advantage of. We have to help each other. 2333 quickly said. It doesn't matter. There's no benefit for me if you become stronger. Ning Shu said calmly. Basically, 2333 would only appear once per mission. 2333's function was to notify her to leave the world. No matter how high the level of a timer was, it was still a timer. 233333. 2333 said, "Don't you want to know who the uncle and the silver-haired man are? When I become stronger, I can invade the super AI and you'll know everything you want to know." Io, you're amazing, brother. Invading depends on who they are. Who cares who they are or what their relationship is? Even if they're gay, it's none of my business. When you're strong enough to invade the super AI, I'll probably be able to beat those too. Ning Shu sneered. When he became stronger and reached that level, he would naturally know who they were. Who needs 2333 to sneakily infiltrate the circle? What's the point of that? When she was weak, why didn't the system help her? Now that she had some value, the system was like this. This made her very unhappy. Although only people with value had the right to be looked at, they were one. The system didn't teach her well. Feelings were formed through time. Ning Shu felt that he didn't have any feelings for the system. It was just that they were tied together by necessity. If you want to do a quest, then I'll do it. 2333 was silent for a while. Finally, he sighed. If you don't want to, then forget it. I won't force you. Even if you force me, I won't do it. Ning Shu opened the book and calmly read. The system space was quiet. The atmosphere was a bit depressing. Ning Shu finished the book without any psychological burden. He did what he needed to do. As for whether the system was angry or not, Ning Shu didn't care at all. The system ignored him to the point where it didn't even do basic work. Sometimes when it asked him about a quest, he didn't even respond. You still want to level up? Dream on. Even if he wanted to level up, it had to be her willing help. She had the final say on what quest to do, not whatever he wanted to do. The system was just a support. Without the system, even if it was the lowest level system, Ning Shu didn't care. Ning Shu picked up the showerhead and hummed a tune as he watered the potted plants. Then, he heard a ding from the chat system. Ning Shu opened the chat system while watering the plants. It was a message from Zhang Jiasen. There was also a message asking her to meet at a restaurant in the virtual space. He also said that fighting was prohibited in the virtual space. He wouldn't do anything to her, but he had something to discuss. Ning Shu closed the chat system expressionlessly. Why did she have to go? She didn't even want to see Zhang Jiasen. Sooner or later, she would kill him. With Zhang Jiasen's cunning, even if fighting was prohibited in the virtual space, he would still find a way to hurt her. It wasn't Ning Shu's style to get beaten up when she knew that he had bad intentions. Ning Shu closed the chat system. After a while, another message came. It was still from Zhang Jiasen. Zhang Jiasen said that he had something important to talk to her about. Ning Shu narrowed her eyes and clicked on the system exchange store. Since she had made up her mind to kill Zhang Jiasen, now was the time. Ning Shu browsed the system store to see if there were any items that could deal with Zhang Jiasen in his soul state. Moreover, it had to be done secretly. Fighting was prohibited in the virtual space. If she was discovered, she wouldn't have a good ending. Ning Shu's gaze stopped on the soul nail. The soul nail would be nailed into the soul and absorb the soul power of the person. The soul power would be absorbed by the soul nail. It was a kind of thing that could rob the soul power of others. It felt quite evil and was very expensive. It required 1,000 merit points and 2,000 faith power. The product introduction was very, very attractive. As long as you are in the soul state, you can't escape the soul nail. Moreover, the soul power in the soul nail could be used by the user. This soul nail was equivalent to an energy converter. However, it required 1,000 merit points and 2,000 faith power. She could afford it, but did she have to spend so much to deal with Zhang Jiasun? Chapter 906. Ning Shu felt his insides hurt when he saw how expensive the spirit spike was. Merit and faith power were the hardest to obtain. Sometimes, a single mission might not even give you any merit points. Although the faith power was slowly increasing, it was still 2,000 points. 1,000 merit points. Mei Ziqing was trying so hard to earn merit points to become a super mission enforcer. Damn it! Was Zhang Jiasun worth it? Who did he think he was? Even if she wanted to kill him, she shouldn't pay such a high price. She couldn't afford it. Ahem. 2333 said, Ning Shu, I suggest you don't touch the spirit spike. Mission enforcers who touch it are mostly useless. What do you mean? Ning Shu asked. The spirit spike can steal another person's soul for your own use. It's very simple and easy to obtain. As long as you have a soul, you can strengthen yourself. 2333 explained, mission enforcers only need to fulfill their clients' wishes to obtain soul power. But with the spirit spike, it's different. You can steal another person's soul power as you wish. This feeling is addictive. Some mission enforcers will kill people in the mission world to obtain soul power to strengthen themselves. 2333 said, in the end, they will be wiped out. There's one more thing. After the client donates his soul power, this power will first be purified. But if he directly absorbs the power of the soul nail, this soul will be tainted with emotions and all kinds of resentment and impurities, which will greatly damage his mind. Ning Shu's heart trembled. When he saw this thing, he felt it was very evil. There was no such thing as a free lunch. Ning Shu frowned and said, if this thing is so dangerous, why put it in the exchange shop? Why not? Merit and faith power are good things. Everyone needs them. You couldn't resist the temptation of power and chose this method. If you don't have enough willpower, you deserve to be killed. The strong survive, and the weak are eliminated. The world is fickle and full of flowers. If you don't even have the slightest bit of willpower, how can you become an outstanding mission enforcer? 2333's words were very cold. This is your choice. What does it have to do with the spirit spike? Alright, she was really speechless. Ning Shu looked at the soul spike. The soul spike was just a tool, and since it was a tool, it must have been made by someone. Ning Shu didn't believe that the soul spike couldn't purify the impurities in the soul. He had purposely left such a flaw to trick them. And it was so damn expensive, it felt like the higher-ups didn't really care about these mission enforcers. They didn't even care if they died. If he failed, he would be obliterated. He wouldn't even have the chance to start over. Ning Shu closed the system exchange mall. Life was full of pitfalls. It was not easy to complete the quest, but he still had to pit his own people. You can't play like this. The closer one got to the top, the fewer people there would be. After going through layers and layers of selection, the number of people standing at the top was very few. The air above must be very fresh. Ning Shu really wanted to climb up and see the scenery above. Ding dong! Another message came from the chat system. Ning Shu opened it and saw that it was from Zhang Jiasun. Ning Shu suddenly felt helpless. It was rare for someone to be so persistent. What was Zhang Jiasun trying to do? Was he trying to take revenge or was he after something from her? No matter what Zhang Jiasun was trying to do, Ning Shu didn't plan to play with him. Ning Shu grinned and directly blocked Zhang Jiasun, never to see him again. On the other side, Zhang Jiasun was notified by the chat system that the message had failed to be sent. He couldn't help but raise his eyebrows and then close the chat system. Zhang Jiasun's expression was indifferent. If the other party could come over, it would be good. If not, it didn't matter. He was just casually trying. Ning Shu said 2333, let's look at the next mission enforcer. 2333 stuttered for a while, you really don't want to do missions with the system? Ning Shu said crisply, "I'll wait until I'm in the mood." "You're not doing the mission for me. You can also get points and attribute points. Why are you so against it?" 2333 asked. Ning Shu smiled and said, "I'm not against the mission. I'm against you." 2333 suddenly acted cute and said, "Ning Shu, don't be like this. Can't you take a stand? Stand firm." Ning Shu was still smiling and said, "Just like me. I've always despised you. My stance has never changed. You're just a piece of trash." 2333. A figure slowly appeared in the space. It was a girl who was about 15 or 16 years old. She was wearing a brocade dress. Although the material was a little old, Ning Shu could tell that the material was not bad. She also had a hairpin on her head, but the style was old-fashioned. It didn't suit her age at all. This girl was pretty. She had delicate features, white skin, and cherry lips. One look and you could tell that she was a beauty. However, the cowardice and timidity between her eyebrows reduced her beauty from 9 points to 4 points. Even at this moment, she still lowered her head. She looked very uneasy. Ning Shu bowed and said, "Qing Qian greets Miss." Ning Shu took a deep breath. It was the ancient world again. To be honest, Ning Shu didn't like the ancient world. It was too restrictive for girls. It was a huge hindrance to completing the mission. Ning Shu returned the bow and said, "You need to counterattack." "Yes, I want to counterattack." Feng Qingqian raised her head. Ning Shu said, "I'll give you 70% of my soul power. I don't want to be compared to others. I want my body and my parents. I hate them." Ning Shu saw that Feng Qingqian was getting emotional. He comforted her and said, "Tell me slowly. I'll only understand what you want after you tell me clearly." Feng Qingqian took a deep breath. She looked at Ning Shu with her beautiful eyes and said, "I want my body. I don't want her to take over my body." Ning Shu saw Feng Qingqian's reaction and decided to see what the plot of this world was like. This was the story of the King of Assassins. Ying Su was a female assassin. She looked cold and noble. She looked down on the world. In the end, she was betrayed and buried in the sea. Then, she transmigrated into the body of Feng Qingqian. When she woke up, Ying Su found out that this body was drowned. Then, she found out that the mother of this body was killed by the legal mother. Ying Su squinted her eyes. Her eyes flashed. She covered her chest. She complained that the original owner of this body was useless and bullied by others. She said, "I'll live well for you. I'll make those evil people pay you back 1,000 times. Why would I want you to help me live?" It was so frustrating. She felt that the original owner of this body grew up just to contribute her body. No one would be willing to do that. Chapter 907. Out of humanitarianism, Ying Su decided to take revenge for this body and her mother. So the King of Assassins started the story of bullying scum to reach the peak of life. At the same time, she gained a powerful and black-bellied man who doted on her. The two of them looked at the scenery together. And now, this person was the original owner of this body. She died before she was 16 years old and gave her body to Ying Su's child. Feng Qingqian wanted to give her soul to take back her body. The existence of the original owner, Feng Qingqian, was to set off Ying Su's existence. The original owner was weak and infatuated. Ying Su was cold and unparalleled. The original owner was timid and had low self-esteem. Ying Su was cool and arrogant. The original owner was disliked by her fiancé. Ying Su attracted the attention of many men. Feng Qingqian was dead, but people still compared her. Whenever they saw the beautiful Ying Su, they would say, "Hey, why is she different from the rumors? Interesting. Woman, you have successfully attracted this king's interest, blah blah blah." In terms of Feng Qingqian's psychological shadow. And there was no good person in the entire Feng manor. Her father was a scumbag father. Her mother was a flirtatious slut who tortured the concubine's daughter. Her sisters were green tea bitches who always wanted to steal her man. The servants bullied the weak and feared the strong. The servants bullied the masters. In short, there was no good person in the entire family. When the Feng family was cleaned up, the concubine's mother, who was originally dead, came back to life. Her mother's identity was noble. She was a princess of a country. Her father's identity was even more powerful. She wasn't a child of the Feng family. No wonder the Feng family bullied her. When the parents came back, they doted on the suffering child to make it up to the child. But the child was already dead. She wanted the moon but couldn't take the stars from an imposter wearing her own skin. How big was Feng Qingqian's psychological shadow? Feng Qingqian didn't appear when she was alive. Now that she was dead, she appeared. So Feng Qingqian hated her parents. Although the Feng family didn't treat her very well, they still gave her food. She grew up, but her biological parents didn't care about her. Her mother faked her death when she could remember. She wanted to find her man. Ning Shu, who had accepted the plot. Ning Shu turned to look at Feng Qingqian. He didn't know what to say. So your wish is to take back your body? Ning Shu asked. Feng Qingqian nodded. That evildoer was using his own skin to make trouble. Feng Qingqian bit her lips and said, if possible, I hope to protect the Feng family. Without the Feng family, I don't know where to go. Didn't the Feng clan bully you? Ning Shu raised an eyebrow. In Poppy's view, the Feng clan was just a bunch of dregs. Feng Qingqian shook her head. I'm not a child of the Feng family. Father, it was General Feng who took in my mother and me. After my mother died, General Feng didn't chase me out. I know I'm weak and useless, Feng Qingqian said. But the Feng family is where I've been living for 15 years. Feng Qingqian being bullied in the Feng family was her own business, but it was not Ying Su's turn to use her name to beat the Feng family into a mess. Poppy was a proud and arrogant person who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. If she wanted to deal with someone else, they would definitely want to deal with her as well. Over and over again, it was all too normal for her to want to kill the other party no matter what. They hated each other for a reason. Ning Shu thought Feng Qingqian was very kind in her bones. Or she could tell right from wrong. In ancient times, a woman without a family or clan would be treated like a slave or a prostitute in a brothel. Can you help me? Feng Qingqian asked Ning Shu. Ning Shu nodded. Yes, but you need to use your soul power to do that. Are you sure you want to do that? I'm sure. Feng Qingqian nodded. Then her body slowly disappeared. After Feng Qingqian left, Ning Shu opened the systems exchange store. He exchanged for fasting pills, water, and some basic medicine. Then he said to 2333, enter the mission. In a small yard in the backyard of the Feng family, the yard was a bit old. A woman was wet and there were traces of moss on her clothes. Her hair was messy and her face was pale. She was lying on the bed alone. She didn't even have anyone to change her wet clothes. At this moment, the woman's fingers trembled. Her eyelashes trembled. Her eyes moved slightly. Then she suddenly opened them. Her eyes were very cold. They were like the stars in the night sky. Ying Su frowned. When she frowned, her temperament was very cold. She had an indescribable coldness. She was already dead. That man deliberately got close to her. In the end, he plotted to kill her. Sure enough, men were all liars. That was the only time she trusted a man. She didn't expect to end up like this. Ying Su felt her head hurt. The memories of this body flooded in. Ying Su couldn't help but rub her eyebrows. The original owner of this body was she was killed by someone just like that. A bright glint flashed in Poppy's eyes. Since he had the chance to live again, he would have to live a different life in this lifetime. First, she had to deal with the servant girl beside her. Ying Su heard the footsteps at the door. She sat up. Her back was straight. Her eyes were sharp. People didn't dare to look at her directly. If they met her eyes, they would feel a chill down their spine. The servant girl, Ji Tao, walked in and saw the miss who was already dead sitting up. She was so scared that she screamed. Shut up, Ying Su said coldly. Her eyes were very cold as she looked at Ji Tao. Ji Tao stopped screaming and stammered, Little miss. How did you live? She had just gone to inform Madam that the miss had stopped breathing. But now the miss was alive. Ji Tao, who do you think is your master? Ing Su said coldly. Ji Tao felt that it was strange. What was the miss doing? It was strange. Ji Tao said carelessly, Miss is naturally this servant's master. Miss, now the husband, impudent. Is this your attitude towards your master? Ing Su raised her eyebrows, which made her look especially fierce. Ing Su hated this kind of disloyal and unjust person the most. Don't think that she didn't know that Ji Tao wanted to climb up the social ladder. She would run to the main courtyard when she had nothing to do, just to please the daughter of the first wife. Miss, Madam and second Miss are coming over now, Ji Tao said. This servant will help Miss change her clothes. As Ji Tao spoke, she reached out to take off Ing Su's wet clothes. Ji Tao wanted to tidy up the Miss before Madam came over. If Madam saw her like this, as a servant, she would definitely be punished. Ji Tao still wanted to change places and serve a different master. She was not capable, so how could Madam think highly of her? Ing Su used to be an assassin. She hated it when people got close to her. When she saw Ji Tao casually reach out to touch her, she immediately grabbed Ji Tao's hand and pulled it hard. Suddenly, there was a crisp sound of bones breaking. Chapter 908. Ji Tao was caught off guard and her wrist was broken. Her face suddenly turned pale and she screamed in pain. She repeatedly shouted, Hand, 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 my hand. Ji Tao's hand was limp. A trace of disgust flashed in Ing Su's eyes and she let go of Ji Tao's hand. Ji Tao held her wrist with one hand and questioned, Miss, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why did he break her wrist for no reason? I hate it when someone touches me. Ing Su said coldly. Ji Tao was burning with anxiety. Coupled with the pain on her wrist, she couldn't help but shout, Miss, are you possessed by a ghost? What time is it now? You are possessed by a ghost. Poppy stood up, walked in front of Ji Tao, and gave Ji Tao 2 slaps. Who do you think you are? At this time, footsteps came from outside the room. Then, a madam wearing a brocade dress walked in. Madame Feng was over 30 years old and maintained herself well. Beside her was her daughter, Feng Fei Yan. Feng Fei Yan was very beautiful. The clothes on her body were also carefully tailored. The jewelry was also carefully selected. When matched with the clothes, she was like a woman shrouded in the red clouds. Beautiful and bright. Madame Feng saw that Ing Su's clothes were wet and there were water plants on it. Her hair was messy. She couldn't help but frown and say sternly, Look at you. Hurry up and change your clothes. Fourth sister, you are so wet. If you are seen by others, your reputation will be ruined. Feng Fei Yan looked up and down at Ing Su. She looked very arrogant. Hurry up and change your clothes. Madame Feng said, Your maid serves you like this. Madam, you have to make a decision for this servant. Ji Tao knelt on the ground and cried. This servant was going to change the young miss clothes, but the young miss broke this servant's wrist and gave this servant 2 slaps. It's not that this servant didn't serve you well. Ing Su's expression became colder and colder. She looked at Ji Tao with even colder eyes. In her heart, she completely gave up on Ji Tao. Usually, she neglected the original owner. Now, she actually betrayed her master for glory. Madame Feng saw Ing Su's unruly appearance. It was completely different from the previous Feng Qingqian. She couldn't help but say, Are you possessed? And what's with your eyes? My mother is asking you a question. Why aren't you replying? Feng Fian couldn't help but ask. Help the fourth miss change her clothes. Lady Wang waved her hand and called for the servant girls behind her to help Ing Su change her clothes. Poppy's eyes turned cold and he used his martial arts to knock down these servant girls and old women. His movements were clean and neat, and his moves were also very vicious. If it wasn't to pinch their necks, it was to break their arms. Madame Feng looked at the room full of maids and grannies. She frowned. Feng Qingqian, I think you're really sick. Did water get into your brain when you fell into the water? Who is the one who caused me to fall into the water? Poppy said coldly. Feng Qingqian, what do you mean by this? Could it be that someone pushed you down? Feng Fian couldn't help but ask. Feng Qingqian, You're just a concubine's daughter. How dare you speak to my mother like that? You don't even greet her when you see her. Feng Fei Yen berated Ing Su. Poppy straightened his back and said, I will not bow to a woman with a venomous heart. I will kneel to the heavens and the earth, but I will not bow to a woman like that. Madame Feng had a headache and rubbed her forehead. I think your brain isn't clear. Fei Yen, call more servant girls and grannies over. Tie this girl up. We can't let her go crazy. Madame Feng said to her daughter. The servant girls and grannies in the room couldn't get up. Call another doctor over and check Feng Qingqian's brain. Yes, mother. Daughter will go now. Feng Fei Yen snorted at Poppy. She lifted her skirt and was about to step over the threshold. Poppy said coldly, There's nothing wrong with my brain. The ones with problems are you too. Poppy gave Madame Feng and Feng Fei Yen a sweeping kick, tripping the two of them to the ground. Madame Feng had never suffered like this. She fell to the ground and held her waist, unable to get up. Poppy sneered and patted his hands. He said coldly, Don't provoke me in the future. Otherwise, I will make you suffer. Feng Fei Yen quickly got up from the ground and helped her mother up. She shouted at Poppy, Feng Qingqian, are you crazy? How dare you treat your mother like this? Madame Feng's waist hurt. She bit her lip and said to Feng Fei Yen, Let's go. The group of people left the dilapidated courtyard dejectedly. Young Miss Ji Tao was stunned. Are you crazy? From today onwards, you are not my person. If you want to climb up the social ladder, then climb up the social ladder. Poppy said with a cold face. Although it was the same body, because of the change in the soul, the temperament of the whole person was different. Clearly, the face was the same, but at a glance, it was not the same person. Get out. Don't hang around in front of me. Otherwise, the next time I will break your leg. Poppy scolded Ji Tao. A fierce murderous aura rushed toward Ji Tao. Ji Tao's body was cold. She looked at Poppy as if she had seen a ghost. She turned around and ran out of the room. As soon as Ji Tao went out, Poppy's body relaxed. This body was really bad. It was very uncomfortable after 2 rounds of punches. He was flustered and short of breath. Poppy opened the wardrobe and found a relatively clean set of clothes. He changed the wet clothes on his body. He felt a little tired and planned to lie on the bed and rest for a while. After he had rested, then he was going to plan his new life. Poppy had just closed her eyes for a while when she suddenly sat up. She held her head in her hands and was in extreme pain. She felt that her head was going to explode. An inexplicable force wanted to squeeze her soul out of the body. What are you? Poppy bit her lip and said, What kind of lonely soul are you? I am Feng Qingqian. How dare you take over my body? Ning Shu was really speechless. He did not expect that he would be one step too late. Poppy's soul had already entered Feng Qingqian's body. And Ning Shu found that although Poppy's soul was not very strong, it had a strong murderous aura. And the resentment was very strong. It made her soul seem to be very aggressive. Ning Shu had seen souls before, but he had never seen a person with such a dark soul. An assassin had a lot of blood on his hands. It did not matter if the person was good or evil, he would kill. How could a person who could become the king of assassins be a good person? Ning Shu could not merge into Feng Qingqian's body for a long time. The murderous aura in her soul made her soul very uncomfortable. Ning Shu used his mind power and slowly merged his soul into the body. Poppy held her head and was in extreme pain. She gritted her teeth and said, Feng Qingqian, you are already dead. Instead of living like this, why don't I live for you and live a bright life? Chapter 909. Poppy felt as if her head was about to explode. Her brain felt like it was being pricked by countless needles. She was in so much pain that she wished she was dead. And there was a force that was trying to separate her from her body. Fear rose in Poppy's heart. It had not been easy for her to be reborn. She did not have to kill again and again every day. To be treated as a killing machine by others, she had to start a new life anew after being reborn. Poppy held her head in her hands and gritted her teeth as she said with great difficulty, Feng Qingqian, I will help you live the rest of your life. I will not let anyone bully you. A phoenix bathes in fire and starts a new life, all right? If not for the fact that she had just merged into this body and had not completely merged with this body, with Poppy's personality, she would not be speaking so nicely to Ningshu. Ningshu just chuckled softly. This is my body, my life. How I live is my business. That is your life. What has it got to do with me? If I give up my body, I will die. Why should I give it up? Ningshu's brows were tightly knitted together. She felt as if her soul was being tainted with a wave of resentment, which made her feel irritable. Waves of icy cold energy surged into her soul, piercing her soul until it hurt. Poppy's soul was rather tough and his will was strong. As a killer, killing was like eating a meal. He was used to it. Without a strong will, he would not be able to become the king of killers. Poppy saw that Ningshu did not know what was good for her and could not help but say, if not for me, you would have been killed by others. You say it as if I give up my body, I will be able to live. Ningshu could not help but laugh out loud. You are such a shameless wandering ghost. You snatched someone else's body and still want to take credit for it. I would rather die myself than for you to take over my body. If I die and you use my body, would I live? As Ningshu said that, she was chanting the clear heart mantra in her heart, dispelling the haze and resentment in her soul. Poppy's face was cold and the veins on his forehead were popping out. He was determined not to give up his body. Do you think I want to enter your body? Do you think I have a choice? If I had a choice, I would never enter the body of a weakling like you. Poppy said coldly as he endured the pain coming from his soul. Ningshu said indifferently, then you can leave this body. The original owner had lived for so long, and this body seemed to have been specially prepared for Ingsu. The original owner was ignored by the Feng family, and this became the reason for Ingsu to take revenge on the Feng family. Io, the whole world is filled with little bitches, saying that my fate is in my own hands and not in the hands of the heavens. What exactly does the heavens owe you? She opened a brothel, established an assassin camp, and created bombs in the era of cold weapons. Her journey was smooth sailing, and she unified the entire continent with her man. It was as if the heavens had given her a cheat code. She was even more heaven-defying. The heavens must be blind to allow someone like you to transmigrate and be reborn. Ningshu merged with Ningshu's body, but he had no way of driving Poppy out of the body. Poppy's soul had a murderous aura that made Ningshu feel very uncomfortable. After a while, Poppy let out a sigh of relief. Her head no longer hurt, and her body was weak. Her whole body was like she had been pulled out of the water. She lay on the bed without moving. Since you and I can't do anything to each other, then so be it. Poppy said to Ningshu. Sooner or later, she would be erased. Ningshu also had this idea in his heart. She had to take back the ownership of this body. Okay. Ningshu said coldly. He then began to chant the clear heart spell in his heart. Ningshu could feel that there was a soul that he could not see clearly next to him. It was looking at him with vigilance like a tiger watching its prey. This battle of the body made Poppy feel very tired. She was also very hungry. She could not help but shout, "Someone, come and bring me something." The sky was already dark, and Poppy had broken the servant's peach. Poppy shouted a few times, but no one answered. Poppy said to Ningshu sarcastically, "You still can't bear to part with this body. Look at what kind of life you are living. Although you are a young lady, you are ignored. You are neglected like this. When you are hungry, you don't even have anything to eat. It is really sad for people to live like you. Ningshu, if there is no one, can't you find something to eat?" Ningshu could not help but say. It was just a few steps to the kitchen. Sad. Poppy's tone was a tone of sadness and anger. At the same time, it had a very disgusting emotion. Ningshu, an assassin who had developed such an arrogant personality. Did no one want to beat her up? Sometimes she thought too highly of herself. Poppy had no choice but to get up and find something to eat. She went out of the room and looked around the somewhat shabby courtyard. She sneered. Which young lady lives in such a courtyard? If he remembered correctly, Feng Fei Yan's courtyard was called elegant and exquisite. Ning Shu did not speak. Their temperaments were different, so they looked at things in different ways. Feng Qingqian was a person who was not good with words. Her mother had passed away. Her father was also a general. He was a rough man and spent most of his time in the military camp. In the residence, Madame Feng was in charge. Did you expect a mistress to treat a concubine's child as her own? Only a crying child would have milk. Feng Qingqian did not say it herself. Did she want Madame Feng to force things into her hands? If she did not say it, Madame Feng would pretend that she did not see it. At this moment, Poppy felt that Madame Feng was a vicious woman who mistreated a concubine's daughter. Poppy went to the kitchen, stole some things to eat, and returned to the courtyard. Poppy lay on the bed to rest. Ning Shu thought about it. While she was asleep, he fought for the control of the body. Ning Shu slowly took control of the body. He did not expect that he would really take control of the body. Ning Shu opened his eyes and clenched his fists. It was really comfortable to have a physical body. To be honest, two souls squeezed in one body was like squeezing in a narrow glass bottle. It was very uncomfortable. Feng Qingqian, what are you doing? She only took a nap for a while, and this woman took advantage of the situation to take control of the body. Poppy wanted to take back the body aggressively. Ning Shu felt that he had lost control of the body in a short while. Poppy was proud in her heart. A weak person like you still wanted to take her body. Even if you took the body, you would still live a life of being bullied. What's the point? Poppy hated this kind of silent person who only knew how to cry after being wronged. She would rather betray the world than let the world betray her. She was so black-bellied and vengeful. Those who hurt her and made her uncomfortable, she would kill them even if they were far away and return it 1,000 times. Ning Shu lost control of the body. He could not help but say, "This body is not yours. You can't keep occupying it. I want to come out too. Stay in the body and watch how I live. I have to fight for what I have to fight for. Living like you is no different from dying." Poppy laughed coldly. Chapter 9-10. Ning Shu listened to Poppy's domineering words and did not say anything. She still could not win Poppy's soul. Poppy's soul could not be said to be very strong. It was just that the resentment and evil aura within it, and there were also some negative karma. Ning Shu did not want to touch it at all. Although these things were wrapped around Poppy's soul, but it made her soul very aggressive. These things were very harmful to the soul. Ning Shu had been a Maoshan Taoist and had transcended before. Ning Shu silently chanted the transcendence incantation, and the incantation slowly melded into Poppy's soul. But the effect was not very great. Although the evil aura dissipated a little, but compared to Poppy's body, it was just a drop in the ocean. What Ning Shu wanted to transcend was the soul that was wrapped around Poppy and had no consciousness. These could not even be considered as souls, and were only wrapped tightly around Poppy by instinct. Although Poppy was like a cow, her soul was exceptionally heavy and she could not even sleep well. She could use the excuse that she was an assassin and had to maintain a vigilant heart to explain. Ning Shu did not stop chanting the incantation. It was these things that made Poppy's soul aggressive. But without these things, Poppy's soul could not be said to be very strong. And she had even passed through the spatial barrier, which expended a lot of her soul. Not knowing if it was because Ning Shu was dealing with the evil aura, Poppy had a good night's sleep. When she woke up in the morning, she stretched her back and was in high spirits. Ever since she was 10 years old, she had not had such a good night's sleep. In order to live, she killed animals, killed people, went through cruel training just to live. Now that she had been reborn, she did not need to live that kind of life anymore. They were in the same body after all. Ning Shu could vaguely sense what Poppy was thinking in her heart. She had killed someone and still looked so aggrieved. "I just want to live?" Was she supposed to say, "You've suffered, you've suffered"? Since it was to live, there was no need to be so pretentious. No one had an easy life. Ning Shu looked at Poppy, who had changed into neat clothes and was practicing martial arts in the yard. He could not help but ask, "Why haven't you gone to pay respects to your official mother yet?" Feng Qingqian was a concubine's daughter. She had to greet her mother every morning. Even though she didn't have much presence, she only saw the other sisters talking and laughing. She basically didn't say anything. However, he had also expressed his attitude. When Poppy heard Ningshu's words, he gave a cold laugh and said, "Now, even your mother might not be able to get up. She'll need 100 days to recover from her injuries." Ningshu was stunned. Did something happen before she came? You fought with mother and beat her up? Ningshu's tone was displeased. With Poppy's personality, he would seek revenge for the slightest grievance. Let's not talk about the fact that Lady Feng is an elder. Beating up my official mother is unfilial. What will others think of me in the future? In this feudal society, women who lost their reputation were either sent to the family temple or killed to prove their innocence. Poppy's actions were practically challenging the feudal system. Moreover, he was so arrogant that he did not kneel before the emperor. It was as if he would kneel to the heavens, kneel to the earth, and not to the man. So what if the ancient emperors were so arrogant? The male lead still felt that he had a personality. I pampered him, and he could do whatever he wanted. It could only be said that the male lead was blessed by the heavens. Pedantic and stubborn, Poppy said coldly. Her expression was one of disdain. No one can control what I do. No one can control my fate. What others say has nothing to do with me. Living in the mouth, you will be disturbed by the mouth. I don't know what your life was like in the past, but my life was like this. The 3 cardinal principles and the 5 constant elements, and there was a clear hierarchy, Ningshu said. Could one person shake the system that everyone recognized? Because it was recognized, if someone wanted to challenge or jump out of the system, they would be punished and condemned. Not everyone could have Poppy's good life. In this era, more women lived like this under the system. Hence, Ningshu didn't like the ancient world. It was too restrictive for women. Also, Ningshu knew what he was capable of. There was no way he could change it. Change couldn't be done overnight. Even though society had developed until now, there were still many male chauvinist cancer in life. They thought that women should have children and do housework. They had no personality and were like inflatable dolls. They didn't complain and disregarded the value of women. It could be seen that some ideas were deeply ingrained. Ningshu smiled. These men should all go to hell. It would be best if they couldn't find a woman in their lifetime. And her mission was to counterattack for someone. Once the time was up, she would leave. Sad. This is a pitiful woman who relies on men to survive. Sad woman, dying for a man. So sad. She doesn't have any sense of self. A bunch of women in the backyard fighting for men. Poppy was even more disdainful. She used a handkerchief to wipe the sweat on her face and neck. Ningshu didn't know what to say. The suppression and restraint of the era on women was tacitly acknowledged as such a way of survival. Who would be willing to suffer in silence? Don't use your luck to look down on other people's misfortune. Not all women could be a couple for life. Ancient times were crueler than imagined. These women in the backyard, if placed in the modern era, which one of them wasn't an elite in the office? Were the women groomed by the ancient nobles really just for men? Yes, you are the best. You can crush all the pedantic and wooden ancient people. Poppy ignored Ningshu and began to change her clothes. She took a few pieces of silver from the box. Poppy took men's clothes and her hair stood up. She looked like a handsome young master. Ningshu asked again, "Are you going out? You should be going to pay respects to the mother now. No matter what, you have to go see the Mu and apologize." Apologize? What a joke. Poppy's face was full of disdain. Feng Qingqian, are you crazy? She has already bullied you and you still want to go up and apologize. You let that woman flaunt her seniority. Are you cheap? No wonder you live like this. Who can you blame for this? I really want to kick you out of my body. You might as well die like this. You have already shed all pretense of cordiality before going up to be beaten. You deserve to die cheap. You deserve to be killed. Poppy took the silver, climbed over the backyard wall and went out. Ningshu just smiled. He wasn't angry at all. Not everyone had the right to be willful. Even if you wanted to deal with someone, You had to stand on the side that was reasonable. Poppy didn't care about reputation, but she cared. The original owner cared. Especially with Feng Qingqian's delicate and sensitive mind, if she encountered such a thing, her life would be ruined. Especially since Feng Qingqian was engaged to a prince. When she married into the royal family, she would have to be careful. She represented the royal family's face. Without a good reputation, no matter what she did, she would be attacked. Wherever she went, there would be people pointing at her. Not everyone could meet a man who would tolerate and pamper her, who would always be right about everything she said. It was like a brainless yet powerful man. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.